Long Chen's heart turned cold. Jia Luo was Lord Brahma's youngest disciple. He had also appeared here. Looking over, Long Chen saw the world rumbling. Bai Zhantong was fighting a slim man with a crown on his head. What shocked Long Chen was that Bai Zhantong was no longer suppressing his cultivation base, and it was finally revealed that he was a half-step world king. Jia Luo was the same. When these two half-step world kings fought, they shook the world. You trash, Bai Zhantong. You said that you would get revenge against me so long ago. But I'm still living so well. But what about your foolish son? Is he still alive? Sneered Jia Luo. He wielded a silver sword against Bai Zhantong, and silver light soared out. The truth was that Bai Zhantong already had a grievance with Jia Luo. Back in the day, Bai Shaola's mother was injured by this fellow, which harmed the fetus she was carrying. This was what had caused Bai Shaola to be born with deficiencies, resulting in him having to go through so much pain. Just thinking of that drove Bai Zhantong crazy. He roared furiously, 6 Dao circulate, Ghost Dao possession, undying, indestructible. Black Qi exploded out of Bai Zhantong. That was Ghost Qi. Now, blood-colored light flowed within his eyes. It was as if he had transformed into a wild devil. His blood Qi also erupted, and wild Qi waves battered the surroundings. As a result, the heavenly Daos crumbled before him. Bai Zhantong's aura instantly doubled in power. Long Chen also saw countless tentacles appear in the manifestation behind him. When they extended into heaven and earth, Long Chen sensed a familiar aura. That aura was something he had sensed from Wu Tian. It was an undying, indestructible aura. However, there was a qualitative difference between the two of their auras. Long Chen instantly understood that Wu Tian's undying, indestructible aura was constant, while Bai Zhantong had only entered a special but temporary state. Die! Bai Zhantong slashed his broadsword out and countless devils exploded. Even half-step world kings were as weak as ants before his current self. Boom! When Bai Zhantong and Jia Luo clashed, ripples exploded and astral winds blasted the world, tearing cracks into heaven and earth. Jia Luo was sent reeling back. It took him over 10 steps to stabilize. In terms of power, he wasn't a match for Bai Zhantong. Suddenly, a trident silently appeared behind Bai Zhantong and stabbed through his body. Everyone cried out in shock. Without even looking back, Bai Zhantong swung his broadsword behind him. His sneak attacker was a devil who was blown apart. Don't attack him. He is in an undying, indestructible state. No one can cause him substantial wounds. Go break the formation, shouted Jia Luo. As old opponents, Bai Zhantong was familiar with Jia Luo's abilities, and Jia Luo was also familiar with Bai Zhantong's abilities. Just as Jia Luo said this, Bai Zhantong unleashed another slash of his broadsword, sending Jia Luo even further back. Humph! Once your Ghost Dao possession ends, I will cut off your head. Jia Luo sneered and retreated. He knew that the current Bai Zhantong could not be defeated. Fighting with him directly was meaningless. You shameless fellow, fight me fair and square, roared Bai Zhantong. A wise man would rather win with wits instead of power. Only a foolish man relies on brute power. I went through such pain to cross heavens. Do you think it was just to take your life? You view yourself too highly. I came to destroy your 7th branch academy. Taking your dog life is something I'll do in passing, sneered Jia Luo. Fuck you. Bai Zhantong roared and continued attacking Jia Luo, but Jia Luo repeatedly dodged, refusing to fight him head-on. His goal was only to keep Bai Zhantong tied down and wait for his Ghost Dao possession to end. At this time, countless devil experts and fiend devils were charging at the High Firmament Academy. Although the Battle God Palace's experts were fighting them at full power and Bai Shirshir was slaughtering them with her golden sword, there were too many enemies. Furthermore, they were coming from all directions. There was no stopping them. Bai Zhantong felt like he might just explode from rage. His goal was to quickly kill Jia Luo and then protect the academy, but Jia Luo was too crafty. He refused to fight Bai Zhantong directly and only stalled him. However, he didn't dare to let Jia Luo off either because Jia Luo would attack the others. Hence, Bai Zhantong was caught in a stalemate and could only roar in fury. Suddenly, a heaven-shaking roar rang out and a giant figure appeared. This 300-meter giant made Qin Feng and Qi Yu jump. They almost mistook Su Zixiong for wild. Su Zixiong had summoned the barbarian blood battle body, transforming into a giant. His rod swung out repeatedly. At this moment, his power had instantly surpassed even Qin Feng and Qi Yu's. Endless devils poured out. Amongst the junior generation, only Bai Shishi, Bai Xiaola, Qin Feng, Qi Yu, and Su Zixiong had charged into the battlefield. The other disciples had been terrified at the start but quickly summoned their courage to also go out. However, they were shouted at to stop. Against ordinary immortal kings they would have no problem. But right now, even the weakest enemies were half-step world kings, and there were also world kings amongst them. If these disciples went out, they would only be sending themselves to their graves. Xiaola, chant with me. Heavenly eye descends, shaking the stars, piercing the void, seeing the true form of gods. Bai Xiaola's mother sternly caught Bai Xiaola. The two of them sat on top of the barrier, chanting some scripture. Bai Xiaola originally wanted to go out and fight, but seeing how stern his mother's expression was, he didn't dare to disobey. He formed hand seals and chanted with his mother. As they chanted, their 3 flower pupils appeared. Following that, a pair of giant eyes appeared in their manifestations. It was like the eyes of gods, overlooking the world. A pillar of light then connected the 4 divine eyes and spread, forming a ripple covering the entire academy. Those enemies struck by the ripple were instantly sent flying. It was as if some invisible energy had rejected them, yet also as if they had simply been transported away. They were unable to get through. At this moment, the Academy's elders were going all out embedding new Immortal King crystals into the Grand Formations. They hoped to repair the Grand Formations as fast as possible. Right now, both sides were in a race for time. Their enemies were trying to break through before the formations repaired themselves, while Long Chen and the others were doing their best to stall for time for the barrier to repair. As for the disciples, they could only watch anxiously. They clenched their hands tightly, but the elders refused to let them go. They could only watch. They felt hatred. They hated themselves for not being strong enough, unable to fight alongside Long Chen. At the most critical time, they were unable to help at all. That felt even worse than dying to them. People looked at where Long Chen was and saw endless devil-eye water lilies. They were gigantic and gradually covered him up. Now everyone's heart clenched. The devil-eye water lily race seemed to have come in even greater numbers than the devils. Although the devil-eye water lily race's experts didn't have the title of the Undying in their names, they were still life forms of the undying world. Hence, they possessed immense life energy and endless divine abilities. But Long Chen was stopping all of them on his own. He was under the most pressure. Luo Changwu stared at him closely, praying inside for him to be fine. Split the heavens. Suddenly, a furious roar rang out and a heavenly saber slashed down like a river of stars. Boom! The saber crashed down, shattering the Tao. As a result, countless runes flew through the air, and a bloody path appeared amongst the devil-eye water lilies. Long Chen seemed to be possessed by a devil god, and his figure was rapidly charging over. On the other side was another figure being blown back. When people saw that figure, they gasped in shock. It was a world king. Long Chen had actually exchanged blows with a world king of the devil-eye water lily race. The immense shockwaves blew away countless devil-eye water lilies. Some of the closest ones were directly blown apart. This time, Long Chen didn't manage to shatter his opponent's 5-colored divine sword. Instead, his arms were numb. This world king of the devil-eye water lily race was too powerful. He had transformed into human form. Not only did he possess terrifying power, but he also had the 5 powers of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. When those 5 elements merged, it was like he possessed 5 spiritual bodies in one. His attacks were sharp and heavy, as if nothing could stop them. Most frightening of all, his attacks also contained a spiritual aspect. If it weren't for Long Chen's vast spiritual strength and firm Tao heart, he would definitely be badly affected. There was truly no need to doubt the power of the Devil Eye Water Lily race. While Long Chen's arm was numb, his opponent also didn't have it easy. Long Chen's split the heavens had caused his manifestation to suddenly dim. It only returned to its original state after several breaths' time. Clearly, even for him, Long Chen's attack required immense power to counter. His expression changed. He suddenly swung his hand, and all the Devil Eye Water Lilies retreated. Long Chen pointed at the World King and coldly said, "You were used by others. If you stop now, it will still be in time. If instead you continue attacking the Academy, then I, Long Chen, swear to make the Devil Eye Water Lily race pay 10,000 times the price." Long Chen could also see that with the final exchange, that World King was a bit afraid. If they continued fighting, perhaps he himself might be fine, but there would be quite a few casualties amongst his fellow Devil Eye Water Lilies. He didn't want to see so many casualties. Instead, he wanted to take a step back, allowing the others to take the vanguard and thus the most losses. Long Chen saw that the other areas were in crisis as well. The Devil Eye Water Lily race had been temporarily cowed, so he had to go reinforce the others. Clearly, the Devil World, the Devil Sea, and the Devil Eye Water Lily race were being used by others for this attack on the Academy. But when it came to the Devil Eye Water Lily race, their enmity only stemmed from a seed pod, so it still hadn't reached the point of no return. Thus, Long Chen made this pledge, hoping that they would retreat now. Long Chen also didn't want to offend so many people. The hundreds of thousands of experts of the Devil Eye Water Lily race slowly fell back, standing in the distance to just watch. But the devils and sea demons of the Devil World and Devil Sea continued to crazily charge at the Academy. Although Bai Shaola and his mother had created a spatial barrier, which sent anyone who charged through away, such a thing rapidly depleted their spatial energy. They couldn't maintain it for long. Split the heavens. Long Chen unleashed a wave of saber light that blasted through enemies. Inside the Academy, the disciples unleashed excited cheers when they saw how unstoppable Long Chen was. They felt like his glory was theirs as well, as if they were the ones slaughtering these devils. Long Chen, you go west. I'll take the east. When Long Chen and Bai Shishir passed by each other, Bai Shishir shouted at him. Both sides were under pressure and needed to be reinforced. All right, be careful. Save some energy. The real enemy has yet to appear, transmitted Long Chen. Bai Shishir's heart shook. There were still more enemies lying in wait. Long Chen charged to the west. The Battle God Palace's experts here were being forced back. There were too many enemies, and they were only a dozen people. They couldn't stop the enemies. Long Chen then unleashed Split the Heavens 3 times. His huge area attacks filled this area with corpses, lightening the pressure on this area instantly. The Battle God Palace's experts worked together with Long Chen to force back their enemies. While Long Chen attacked, he also gathered the corpses on the battlefield and put them in the primal chaos space. He could already guess the goal of his opponents. That terrifying attack just now was the result of condensing all the energy of the fallen devils. But Long Chen didn't know what method they had used. Thus, he was still uneasy. As he slaughtered these enemies, he did his best to suck them into the primal chaos space as fast as possible so that they couldn't be used by their enemies. Unfortunately, the battlefield was too big, and he was unable to cover the entire thing. But every bit that he took in was one bit that the enemy couldn't absorb. Another half an incense stick's worth of time passed. The holes in the barrier had vanished, but it was still covered in cracks. It was still too weak to endure another such attack. If they wanted to return it to its previous state, it would take at least an hour. This hour was the crux to victory or defeat. The thing that made Long Chen the most uneasy was that the other side had not even shown themselves yet. He didn't know what scheme they were cooking up in the dark. But he refused to believe that the other side was composed of only Jia Luo. Everything was clearly premeditated. Jia Luo had appeared to stop Bai Zhantong, essentially stopping the Academy's strongest trump card. Bai Zhantong was in his ghost Dao possession state, and it could be considered as if he was now a merger of two powers within him. However, all of that immense power had been dragged away by Jia Luo. There had to be some goal behind his action. While Long Chen grabbed the corpses on the ground, he also kept an eye on the entire battlefield. Time passed bit by bit. Every breath seemed as long as an hour. The barrier was being repaired too slowly, and the feeling of unease grew. Long Chen felt the other side to be truly sinister. He was always forced to fight passively. It was very unfavorable to him. However, there was also nothing he could do. He had been schemed against once more. The situation was precarious, but he could only wait. That made him furious. He truly disliked being toyed with like he was a fool. Suddenly, the world shook and another pillar of light shot toward the academy. Long Chen's heart sank. This attack was just as terrifying as the last. It was unstoppable. Long Chen clenched his teeth. He prepared to risk his life to stop it, but he suddenly found that although this attack was flying in the direction of the academy, it was off target. Boom! As expected, just as Long Chen and the others were confused, that attack shattered the space above the academy. The void was torn apart, leaving a giant hole. Long Chen and the others were startled. If this attack had landed on the formation, it would definitely break. Although Long Chen had been willing to risk his life to stop it, he really had no confidence in being able to stop it. However, such a terrifying attack had actually gone off target. Furthermore, at this moment, countless figures began to appear in the distance. Long Chen instantly spotted a treacherous fatty. Enputa! Seeing Enputa's sinister smile, Long Chen's heart sank. It seemed that they had missed on purpose. Could it be? Long Chen turned back to that hole in the void, his expression changing. Countless figures appeared in all directions. These were all black-robed, masked experts whose cultivation bases couldn't even be sensed. They were like soul-stealers from hell. At this moment, pairs of emotionless eyes eyed people's necks. It felt as if some daggers might cut through their throats at any given time. These people were all assassins. Although they all wore black robes, there were different marks on their sleeves and collars. One was the blood character and the other was the underworld character. They were respectively from the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall. With Long Chen's sharp spiritual perception, he could sense that these people were all Immortal King assassins. There were hundreds of thousands of them. Assassins possessed immense killing power that could kill across realms. They were all fiends lying in the shadows, specialized at launching fatal attacks while people weren't on guard. On the battlefield, it would be better to fight world kings than have them play hide and seek. Long Chen, you're still too tender. Last time, something unexpected let you run. But this time, no accidents will occur. Everyone here will die. Enputa smiled at Long Chen sinisterly from far away. Damn fatty, you're getting happy too soon. How do you know that I don't have other trump cards? Speaking of which, I heard that you tried to cause trouble for Mo Nian. I suppose you don't know that the fellow who helped me last time is called Mo Nian. He sent me some news that he managed to slap you in the face. Is that true? Asked Long Chen. He was trying to conveniently get some information on Mo Nian's whereabouts. If he asked directly, Enputa naturally wouldn't reply, so Long Chen was hoping to con him. However, what Long Chen hadn't expected was for Enputa's expression to twist angrily. Killing intent blazed in his eyes. I will make that fellow die a miserable death sooner or later. Unfortunately, you won't get to see it. Long Chen was shocked and stared at Enputa in disbelief. He really did slap you in the face? Just how smart was Enputa? Seeing Long Chen's expression, he knew that Long Chen had conned him. Hence, he was infuriated. Just then, a huge spatial portal appeared in the giant hole of the void. Nether chi poured out of it. Enputa suppressed his fury and smiled. Long Chen, you really are a bit smart. You actually activated your grand formations ahead of time to block my killing blow. Regretfully for you, I, Enputa, never do anything that I am not assured of. I know just how difficult you are to deal with. Thus, I made more preparations. Just in case you blocked my first attack, the second attack would pierce the wall between worlds, creating a channel to the netherworld. Although you might have been gathering the corpses, afraid that I would gather their blood-soul energy, you are wrong. I didn't want their blood-soul energy. I only wanted their devil chi. Once they die, their devil chi is still absorbed. So, Gathering the corpses is a meaningless effort. If it weren't for the fact that our formation is unable to attack multiple times in a row, I wouldn't even bother to have senior brother Jialuo come out. Because you are afraid that Bai Zhantong can block your attack? Asked Long Chun coldly. Correct. His ghost Dao possession is truly monstrous. In that state, he has an undying body and truly has the ability to block this attack. Thus, in order to prevent any accidents, senior brother Jialuo drew him out just to prevent him from stopping this attack. Our goal isn't just to destroy your 7th branch academy. We will also give this vile dragon domain to a tribe of the Netherworld, and this place will quickly become filled with nether chi. Having activated its supreme defenses, your foundation stone is no longer stable. It will gradually be corroded by the Netherworld's aura. In just a day it will rot. In other words, tomorrow, you and your 7th branch academy will forever vanish from this world, explained Enputa calmly. Hearing his words, everyone felt ice cold. Enputa was truly sinister. He was going to make sure that the 7th branch academy never managed to rise again. What a great plan. Before this, you used an ancient corpse to draw over the Devil Eye Water Lily race, using them as a dog watching over this territory. Now, you're using the Netherworld's experts to be your fighters. I really admire you. Lord Brahma truly has amazing abilities. He has all kinds of connections, said Long Chun lightly. Brat, you are courting death. You dare to blaspheme Lord Brahma? Just then, the skinny black-robed elder beside Enputa shouted. So you must be the master of the 9 Underworld Hall. Old fellow, sooner or later I will definitely turn your head into a kickball, declared Long Chun coldly. This person was precisely the master of the 9 Underworld Hall, Liao Bensong. Just hearing Long Chun and Enputa's conversation had made him impatient. Hence, as soon as Long Chun mentioned Lord Brahma, he immediately berated him. However, Long Chun's provocation made Liao Bensong frown darkly. His killing intent erupted. Just as the rumors said, the master of the 9 Underworld Hall had an explosive temper. Enputa quickly stepped forward and said, Long Chun, I'll give you a chance. If you swear to follow divine venerate Brahma, we can spare your life. In fact, we can even spare everyone here. Have you gone crazy? Liao Bensong was enraged. His goal was to destroy the 7th branch academy and kill everyone here. But Enputa actually said that he would let off everyone? Furthermore, he hadn't discussed this with Liao Bensong beforehand. This was a kind of provocation toward him. Enputa ignored Liao Bensong and looked only at Long Chun, waiting for his reply. Long Chun smiled. Enputa, your scheming really is refined. It was due to your miscalculation that I could reclaim the 7th branch academy. Even if you destroy the 7th branch academy now, it will still draw Lord Brahma's ire. But if you could pull me to his side, it wouldn't just be a slap in the face to the High Firmament Academy. The academy's morale would plummet, and you would have a brilliant counterattack. What a nice idea. Just as Long Chun said, if he surrendered, the impact on the High Firmament Academy would be huge. That was because Long Chun was claimed to be the strongest new talent in the High Firmament Academy's history. Also, he was the youngest dean ever. He had countless titles and honors to him. This was why he was viewed as the High Firmament Academy's hope for the future. If he, Long Chun, were to surrender to Lord Brahma, it would be a fatal blow to the High Firmament Academy. It went without saying that Enputa's scheming was profound. Unfortunately, Enputa didn't know that the High Firmament Academy absolutely refused to believe that Long Chun would ever join Lord Brahma. That was because he was a 9-star heir. When Long Chun said this, the enraged Liao Bensong calmed down slightly. But right after that, his expression twisted with fury once more. That was because he hadn't thought that far, but Enputa had not discussed it with him anyway. It was essentially treating him like a fool. Luo Cha, kill him! Liao Bensong suddenly roared. Hearing that, Enputa was incensed. But before he could say anything, a ripple appeared in the space behind Long Chun, and a dagger silently stabbed toward the back of his neck. The attack came silently without any warning at all. It was an attack launched right in the gap of a person's senses, and it was as quick as lightning. Long Chun himself was startled. He hadn't expected that someone would be able to approach him without him even sensing it. The attack was almost at his neck when it appeared, and it was the fastest attack he had ever seen. It was far too late for him to dodge. Sparks flew. A saber sheath suddenly appeared behind Long Chun, blocking that dagger right at that moment of life and death. Despite that, an immense force was transmitted through it, sending Long Chun staggering forward. Long Chun didn't even wait to stabilize himself. The Minghong saber already slashed behind him. Metallic ringing once more rang out. Despite there being nothing there before he swung, his saber perfectly blocked the second attack from that dagger. The two divine weapons then rumbled as they clashed. As their masters fought, so did the weapons. The void shuddered, and only now did Long Chun see who had attacked him. It was a slender woman veiled in a woman's head covering. Her hair was short, and her eyes were narrow and icy. If it weren't for the way that they were focused, they would seem just like the eyes of a dead person. Also, her aura was completely concealed. Not a trace of it leaked. All her aura was sealed within her body. Long Chun then narrowed his eyes. He had never seen such a cultivation technique. It had to be known that most people needed to unleash their aura, or if they used too much power, they would injure themselves. They might even cause their own death that way. However, this person was strangely talented. All her power was locked inside her body, and yet her attacks were still hard and concentrated. Not a trace of her power was wasted. "You are the 9 Underworld Luocha?" asked Long Chun. "Remember my name, because the owner of this name will kill you," said the 9 Underworld Luocha. Her voice was just like her, emotionless and dry like a machine. Suddenly, she vanished from beneath Long Chen's saber. She left no sign of where she went or how she moved. Her movement art was completely ephemeral. Long Chun stabbed his saber forward. As a result, the 9 Underworld Luocha that had just vanished reappeared. She hadn't run just now but instead taken a step back. Her dagger blocked Long Chen's saber. A trace of astonishment appeared in her cold eyes. With her special talent, she was a supreme expert within the 9 Underworld Hall. That was why she was bestowed with the name of the 9 Underworld Luocha. The 9 Underworld Luocha was the title given to the 9 Underworld Hall's strongest disciple. Only those who had passed through the cruelest 9 Underworld trial could obtain that title. As the only one in the past million years to pass the 9 Underworld trial, her movement art was obtained from that trial. Also, other than the Hall Master Liao Binsong, no one in the 9 Underworld Hall could see through her movement art. So, she hadn't expected Long Chun to be able to see through it. Normally, when she vanished like that, a person would instinctively spread their senses around. But it was at that moment that she would kill them. She had never failed except for today. "I don't remember the names of those I killed because I've killed far too many people. I really can't remember them all," said Long Chun coldly. The killing intent in his eyes raged like a tsunami. She was the 9 Underworld Luocha, and her hands were soaked in the blood of 9-star heirs. Long Chun seemed to see the sights of countless 9-star heirs roaring as they were unwillingly killed. Suddenly, countless stars lit up on Long Chen's saber, and it rumbled, shaking the world. After that, the 9 Underworld Luocha's pupils shrank. She found that Long Chun had somehow locked onto her with a supreme mental energy. At the same time, his saber seemed to be bestowed with the power of the stars. It was trying to directly crush her. He was actually competing with her in pure brute strength, a clash that would not stop until one of them was dead. In this state, she could only fight against him as he wished. The moment she thought of dodging or running away, Long Chen's power would erupt as her power scattered. She would then be instantly destroyed. "I have never feared anyone when it comes to power," the 9 Underworld Luocha snorted. A red rune then lit up on her forehead and spread to cover her entire body. Following that, a giant figure appeared behind her. When it manifested, a dark, ominous aura filled the sky. That figure was clearly humanoid, but the aura that it unleashed seemed more like that of a devil from the depths of hell. It made people's souls shake. "Long Chun, be careful. That is the 9 Underworld Luocha, an infamous devil species from ancient times. It was a species that slaughtered endless life forms. On a battlefield like this, she can absorb all the leftover resentment of the slain to give her boundless power, shouted by Shirshir's mother when she saw that figure. She had originally thought that the title of the 9 underworld Luocha was merely to intimidate others. She hadn't expected it to be really related to an ancient devil species. The 9 underworld hall had a trial region that had the 9 underworld Luocha's soul consecrated within. Anyone who passed the trial would obtain the 9 underworld Luocha's inheritance and their blessing. The 9 underworld Luocha slaughtered lifeforms to live and absorbed their resentment to cultivate. And on the battlefield, a huge amount of resentment accumulated from those that were slain. Hence, the 9 underworld Luocha's manifestation gave her endless power. On this battlefield, she was unrivaled. So what if you know? I abandoned my true name, walking beneath the heavens with the title of the Luocha. The 9 underworld Luocha is me. I am the 9 underworld Luocha. When I descend upon the world, the 10,000 races can only quiver beneath my feet and weep, said the 9 underworld Luocha coldly. Her voice had changed once more, and so had her spiritual fluctuations. An ancient desolate aura now came from her body. It was as if that ancient 9 underworld Luocha from ancient times had been revived. Long Chen's Minghong saber then rumbled, and his power pressed down on the 9 underworld Luocha's dagger. Under that immense power, the void fractured like a mirror, the cracks spreading far and wide. Who cares if you're the 9 underworld Luocha or the 10 underworld Luocha? In front of me you can only kneel. Long Chen pressed down. Ignorant fool. An ant like you will never know just how terrifying the Luocha race is. The expressionless 9 underworld Luocha was suddenly enraged. It seemed that Long Chen's despise of the Luocha race was the greatest insult to her. The Luocha race is nothing. Do you think you're fit to fight me? Long Chen. Long Chen roared, his eyes scarlet. He had almost shouted my 9-star line. Long Chen's blood qi raged within him like a surging river. As his blood qi surged, his meridians and blood vessels widened, increasing his power to the max. Thinking of how this woman had slain 9-star heirs, how those hot-blooded men filled with great dreams had been killed, Long Chen's hatred overflowed. Die! Suddenly, Long Chen and the 9 underworld Luocha roared at the same time. Both of their powers erupted. At that moment, the world instantly changed color. A sphere of light grew between the two of them, growing until it created a giant zone of death. Lightning raged within. As the 10,000 daos were suppressed, heaven and earth twisted. Even the stars in the sky shuddered. What kind of power is this? The disciples inside the academy stared in horror, feeling as small as ants. They sensed incredible destructive power within that raging sphere. They had all advanced to the Divine Lord realm. Although they wouldn't dare to say that they were now unrivaled beneath the heavens, at the very least they should be considered experts. However, this battle between Long Chen and the 9 underworld Luocha taught them what kind of power was required to stand at the peak. The 9 underworld Luocha's manifestation shuddered and ancient desolate qi came pouring out of her. Right now, runes flowed on top of her body. It was like a true Luocha had been revived, its power swallowing the heavens. As for Long Chen, his divine ring circulated and the starry river quivered. His 108,000 stars were all burning, sending endless power pouring throughout his body. That power then converged within his saber. Die! Both of them shouted at the same time. As a result, 2 pillars of light exploded out of the sphere, charging into the clouds. Astral winds tore at the world like blades, while countless holes appeared within heaven and earth. The world was left riddled with holes, seemingly on the verge of collapse. Countless invisible spatial blades then followed the astral winds. Seeing this scene, the experts fighting quickly retreated. But the sea demon race's giant bodies were unable to dodge, so they were cut to pieces, their blood soaking the ground. You fool, if Long Chen is pulled under the divine venerate, it would be a great meritorious achievement. But you just want to destroy him. Seeing this power of Long Chen's, Emputa glared at Liao Bensong. You're the fool. Your whole family consists of fools. You were the one who carelessly lost the vile dragon domain, and now I'm taking it back. Killing Long Chun is also my achievement. You damn fatty, if you don't shut your mouth, I'll kill you. Don't think that your little smarts will let you do whatever you want. Liao Bensong furiously pointed at Enputa and cursed. Enputa's expression sank, but he didn't continue speaking. Despite his bellyful of anger, he knew how to endure. He knew that if Liao Bensong was truly enraged, this idiot would really attack him here. Enputa was originally planning on using everyone else's life to threaten Long Chun. He had gotten a general grasp of Long Chen's character, so he knew his weakness. However, this idiot Liao Bensong was too stupid. His vision was short-sighted, and he was afraid that after Long Chun submitted, the credit would go to Enputa. Thus, he wanted to kill Long Chun so that it would be Enputa who had made the mistake and Liao Bensong who was fixing it. The credit would go to him and the blame would go to Enputa. Long Chun and the 9 underworld Luocha's figures began to appear and vanish. Every clash between them was a full power exchange that shook the heavens. What no one had expected was that the 9 underworld Luocha was different from ordinary assassins. Her attacks were sharp, but she didn't use too many tricks. She mostly fought openly and directly. It was just that she was so fast it was like she had a transportation formation activating around her. She blinked through the void, leaving countless afterimages. Lightning crackled beneath Long Chen's feet. While using the Lightning Falcon Race's movement art, his speed was also pushed to the limit. When the two of them fought, it looked as if dozens of them were fighting at once. People were unable to see clearly. As they tried to grasp where they were, explosions rang out in new places. The battle was chaotic. As the two of them fought, their speed only increased. Furthermore, people were shocked to find that their auras were also growing stronger. It was as if they would grow limitlessly. Their auras were like the fires of a furnace, which grew stronger as they burned. Golden light began to appear out of Long Chen's body. That was a sign that his blood chi was unleashed to the limit. As for the 9 underworld Luocha, divine light was shining around her. She had almost merged with her manifestation. The Luocha behind her was originally illusory, but as time passed, the eyes of the Luocha opened at some point, and a violent divine pressure crashed down. It was as if a devil god from ancient times had reappeared. The Luocha has opened its eyes. Long Chen's death is at hand. Seeing that, Liao Bensong smiled confidently. Only he knew just how strong the 9 underworld Luocha was. Boom! An intense explosion ended the clash between Long Chun and the 9 underworld Luocha. After their last exchange, both of them fell back. Suddenly, the 9 underworld Luocha stuck out her tongue and wrapped it around her dagger. Blood then flowed out of her tongue, instantly dyeing the dagger red. When the dagger turned crimson, the aura of her life vanished. But the Luocha behind her seemed to have come to life. Long Chun, you blasphemed my Luocha race. Your death won't be enough to wipe out your sins. Although I have not fully mastered the Luocha possession and can only unleash 1/10 of its power, it's more than enough to kill you. Go repent in the other world. The 9 underworld Luocha's voice rang throughout heaven and earth. It was as if thousands of Luochas were speaking at once. When she raised her dagger this time, the stars twisted. Within a brilliant light, there seemed to be an invisible power condensing on her dagger. Upon seeing that, all the experts fighting couldn't help but stop. Even the enemies slowly retreated. Those devils and sea demons ran. As for the one fighting Jialuo, Bai Zhantong, his expression completely changed. He actually abandoned Jialuo to fly toward Long Chun. He knew just how terrifying this technique was. If you save him, I'll have enough time to kill your 2 women, as well as your son and daughter. Jialuo smiled sinisterly. Bai Zhantong's fury soared. He once more charged at Jialuo, but Jialuo sneered and dodged, refusing to fight him directly. Seeing Long Chun in danger, Bai Shirshir was about to fly over to fight alongside him when Long Chun raised his saber. At this moment, a sharp will soared. In the face of the 9 underworld Luocha's heavy aura, battle intent raged within Long Chen's eyes. I already said, The Luocha race is not qualified to act arrogant in front of me. Rumbling rang out of his body like a flood was breaking through multiple dams. After 18 dams, Long Chen's saber began to quiver, and a giant saber image soared into the heavens, one that caused the heavens to quiver. After that, a destructive aura unfurled. Cracks sounded and lightning thundered. When the saber image pierced into the heavens, the heavenly Daos quivered. This saber was something even gods and ghosts would flee from. Moreover, all the murderous aura was sucked dry, and all the rumbling of manifestations vanished. The world fell deathly silent. Everyone, including Enputa and Liao Bensong, was shocked. They had never seen such a terrifying saber before. No matter how strong you are, you will still die to my Luocha soul extermination stab, shouted the 9 underworld Luocha. The Luocha behind her unleashed an attack that caused the heavens to collapse. Then let's see just who will die. Split the heavens too. Long Chen shouted, holding his saber. As a man and saber merged, endless power flooded out. It was as if a volcano that had been suppressed for millions and millions of years had finally found a way to explode. Boom! Both of their ultimate techniques erupted, smashing into each other in front of countless appalled gazes. It felt as if two suns were colliding. Blinding pain stabbed countless people's eyes, and they instantly lost their vision. It felt like the world was being torn apart. Following that, they felt like the space around them was twisting, as if their bodies and souls were twisting as well. Even the experts of the Battle God Palace coughed up blood. As for those half-step world kings, sea demons and devils, they simply exploded and a bloody stench filled the air. When everyone's vision was restored, it seemed as if the entire world had turned red. It was as if they had fallen into hell. The terrain had completely changed. If it weren't for the barrier still standing, they might not know where they were. The Academy's formations shuddered. Fortunately, they were far enough from Long Chun that the barrier held on. But many cracks that had just healed reopened again. Everyone then looked at Long Chen. His black hair and robes fluttered around him, and his saber was once more pointed at the heavens. Although his face was a bit pale and his aura was not as steady as before, his gaze was electric. He was still overflowing with battle intent. As for the 9 underworld Luocha facing him, blood leaked out of the corner of her mouth. Also, the head covering veiling her face was destroyed, revealing her true appearance. What no one had expected was that her veiled face was covered in countless spots. Some even seemed connected like ferocious reptiles. Just that sight made people feel afraid. However, her arm was covered in fresh blood. Long Chen's saber had almost made her arm explode. I told you, who cares if you're the 9 underworld Luocha or the 10 underworld Luocha? In front of me, you have no right to be arrogant, sneered Long Chun. Just then, another saber image soared into the heavens and came slashing down. Even before it landed, a ferocious heaven-splitting will caused the 10,000 Daos to wail. What? The 9 underworld Luocha was shocked. She had assumed that Long Chen's flipping blood chi from that exchange had yet to recover. That should be the case according to reason. How was he able to unleash such a terrifying attack again in such a short time? Boom! Long Chun didn't give her time to consider this question. The heaven-soaring saber image came crashing down mercilessly, so the 9 underworld Luocha spat a mouthful of blood on her dagger. The next moment, the Luocha image behind her that was originally starting to dim grew condensed again. With an explosive sound, the ground beneath her feet crumbled. The 9 underworld Luocha was smashed into the earth by Long Chen's attack. Before, the two of them had been even, but this time she was unable to stop Long Chen's power. She had no choice but to fall back, borrowing a bit of Long Chen's force to retreat. A bottomless abyss had appeared in the ground from Long Chen's saber. However, the 9 underworld Luocha had vanished. Long Chen was about to chase after her with the Minghong saber when the void once more rumbled. That huge spatial channel above the academy had finally finished condensing, so the aura of the netherworld came gushing out. Following that, a tide of netherworld experts flew out. At the head of this group were 5 world kings. Seeing this scene, Long Chen's heart plummeted. He was incensed. He had once more fallen for Enputa's scheme. Compared to this old fellow, he really was lacking some maturity. Enputa's schemes came one after another in an endless tide. They didn't give Long Chen any breathing room. This time, there really was nothing he could do. Long Chen, I'll now give you your last chance. Join Divine Venerate Brahma, and I can spare all your lives. All I will do is destroy the 7th Branch Academy. Otherwise, you will only be able to watch as all your Academy's people are killed here, announced Enputa. He could see further than Liao Binsong, and he saw that Long Chen's talent was amazing. At such a young age, Long Chen already had such power, a power that was greater than the 9 underworld Luocha. His potential was limitless. If Enputa could have Long Chen join Lord Brahma, then his mistake this time would be completely forgiven. In fact, Lord Brahma would probably be delighted. 9 underworld Luocha. Where are you? Hurry up and kill Long Chen. I order you to use your trump card. Liao Binsong ignored Enputa and shouted. Long Chen. What no one had expected was that the newly descended army from the Netherworld didn't immediately attack the Academy. Instead, they heard Long Chen's name and were surprised. Long Chen. Master Long Chen, is that you? One of the world kings looked at Long Chen in disbelief. You're... Damn, it really is you. When Long Chen looked closely, he finally recognized this world king. The latter had helped Long Chen row the boat across the Black Sea when they had gone to Wu Tian's city. However, he wasn't one of Wu Tian's important generals, so Long Chen hadn't paid him much attention. Fortunately, his memory was decent or things would be awkward now. Ha ha ha. What a coincidence. I didn't expect to encounter you here again. That world king was delighted and shouted. Hearing that this world king actually recognized Long Chen and even called him master with such a reverent tone, Enputa and Liao Binsong were dumbfounded. Let alone them, even everyone in the academy was dumbfounded. Long Chen knew world kings from the netherworld? That was unimaginable. Boom! Just then, the earth erupted and the 9 underworld Luocha came flying out. After that brief delay, her aura seemed to have recovered, and her attack was once more incredibly sharp. Hence, Long Chen's saber slashed down again, and the 9 underworld Luocha was sent staggering several steps back. Master Long Chen, what is going on? Do you need us to do anything? After his excitement, that world king realized that Long Chen was in battle. Then I won't stand on courtesy. Help me lock down this area. Kill all the fellows other than the human race. Other than that, there's a damn fatty and a damn skinny there, as well as that dog thing and the spotted woman. They are all enemies. Don't let them flee. Afraid that this world king wouldn't be able to differentiate between friend and foe. Long Chen specially pointed out Enputa, Liao Binsong, Jia Luo, and the 9 underworld Luocha. All right, master. Don't worry. We'll definitely handle this perfectly. That person didn't hesitate. He directly gave orders, and this army of the netherworld took out their weapons and collapsed on the sea demons, devils, and even the devil-eye water lily race. Enputa roared with a mixture of shock and rage. Bastards, what are you doing? Aren't you the black nether race? Your divine venerates subordinates dash. Boom. His reply was a hammer that struck him like a shooting star. What subordinates? Kneel. Divine venerate Brahma? All we care about is Master Wu Tian. The Black Nether race betrayed Master Wu Tian and was just destroyed by us. You are their friends? Then you are our enemies. The 5 world kings pounced on Enputa and Liao Binsong. The scene instantly became chaotic. Liao Binsong was dumbfounded, so he furiously cursed Enputa. You damn fatty! Tell me what's going on? Enputa himself was dumbfounded, not knowing what was going on. It had clearly been a flawless plan, but it had suddenly taken an incomprehensible turn. 5 World King experts wielding divine weapons of the netherworld that had death chi whirling around them attacked Enputa and Liao Binsong, sending them stumbling back. Boom! In the distance, Long Chen and the 9 underworld Luocha once more clashed. Long Chen no longer had any misgivings. There was nothing he needed to hold back now. After this attack, A flame lotus appeared in his left hand. World Extermination Flame Lotus. The flame lotus flew at the 9 underworld Luocha. In return, the Luocha image behind her clasped its hands together, and they formed a giant shield in front of her. Luocha guard! The 9 underworld Luocha shouted, and countless runes appeared on the Luocha's hands, forming a layer around her. Boom! The World Extermination Flame Lotus smashed into the clasped hands. Flames and runes weaved together and exploded at the same time. Split the heavens too! Long Chun shouted, unleashing another heavenly saber at her. The 9 underworld Luocha was shocked. Only now did she realize that Long Chen's flame lotus had been nothing more than something to draw her vision, concealed the true killing blow. Long Chen's techniques came too quickly. Now, it was already too late for her to unleash the Luocha soul extermination stab, so she clenched her teeth. The spots on her face suddenly quivered and seemed to come to life. Blood soul sacrifice, Luocha possession. Following that, her flesh withered in an instant. She was like a skeleton covered in a layer of skin now. But the Luocha manifestation behind her instantly solidified as if it now possessed a body of flesh and blood. She merged into her manifestation, transforming into the Luocha. She had completely finished the Luocha possession. The current her had multiplied in power, and countless runes flowed within her body. Boom! When Long Chen's saber fell, the 9 underworld Luocha received his attack with her dagger. The two divine weapons struck each other, and a half-sphere of energy exploded out of both of them. Two opposing forces crashed against each other. Long Chun felt like a sea was flipping inside of him, so he coughed up a mouthful of blood. In the Luocha possession, she actually possessed the power of time. Because of it, Long Chun was injured. However, the 9 underworld Luocha didn't fare better. Long Chun had unleashed a full-power attack, while she had been forced to make a hasty defense. Now, blood was pouring out of her 7 orifices. Damnable bastard! I am from the great Luocha race. You dare to injure me? I will tear your corpse into 10,000 pieces. The 9 underworld Luocha shrieked. As if possessed by a ghoul, she charged at Long Chun. A little Luocha race dares to call itself great? Today, I will beat you into a paste. Long Chun wiped the blood off of his mouth. His injuries instantly healed. With the wood foundation divine trees, he wasn't afraid of being injured. Split the heavens too! Long Chun once more raised his saber, unleashing his simplest, most direct attack. He had no need for flashy techniques. This was a clash of power of who was stronger. Luocha soul extermination stab. The 9 underworld Luocha roared. Both of them unleashed their strongest attacks again. The 9 underworld Luocha's eyes were red. Long Chun wanted a direct clash, and she also wanted a direct clash. Both of them had the utmost confidence in their power. One was a terrifying 9-star heir, while the other was a heavenly genius of the 9 underworld hall that had received the inheritance of the Luocha race. They both believed that they were the strongest. Boom! 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 Everyone was amazed and horrified to see Long Chun and the 9 underworld Luocha clash 3 times with their strongest attacks. They used their ultimate moves as if they were free. Every attack caused the stars to quiver and the world to shake. It was truly a heaven-shaking battle. Seeing this, the disciples inside the academy all felt their blood heating up. Long Chun was their unbeatable god. His divine power seemed boundless, and his confidence and arrogance made them feel reverent. After 3 all-out clashes, Long Chen's arm was numb. He didn't know how many times his internal organs had been destroyed and healed, but he still wasn't afraid. Instead, his battle intent continued to pour out of him. Facing a powerful opponent only made him feel more excited. As for the 9 underworld Luocha, she was also injured. More blood was pouring out of her 7 orifices. Furthermore, this blood was black. Cracks had even appeared on her forehead. Split the heavens! Long Chun once more raised his saber, causing the 9 underworld Luocha's expression to change. Long Chen's power seemed limitless. He was practically a monster. On the other hand, her luocha possession had already reached its limit. As her cultivation base wasn't high enough, she was still unable to fully merge with her luocha manifestation. She could only sacrifice her flesh to temporarily merge with it. However, this state could not be maintained for long. Once time was up, she wouldn't even be able to keep up her manifestation. If her manifestation was broken, her sacrificed flesh would never return, and that would be a fatal blow to her. So your life is tough. Once I finish merging with the luocha, I will come take your life. The 9 underworld luocha snorted and suddenly formed hand seals. However, just then, Long Chun appeared in front of her and swung his saber, cutting off her hands. I knew that you wouldn't be able to beat me. You want to run? Leave your life behind first, sneered Long Chun. A huge saber image had appeared just then, but now he was suddenly attacking normally, with such speed that it practically toppled people's understanding. It had to be known that normally, once an ultimate attack was brewing, it couldn't be pulled back. That would essentially be attacking themselves with their power. So, at this moment, Long Chun had completely gone against the common sense of the martial Tao. In truth, after 3 all-out attacks, he could clearly sense that she had reached her limit. That was why Long Chun had only acted out the 4th attack to scare her. Just as Long Chun expected, the 9 underworld luocha didn't dare to fight him again. She was forming hand seals to flee, and she needed to gather her mental energy to escape from the lock of his saber. As a result of the distraction, she hadn't expected Long Chun to switch techniques and cut off her hands. Long Chun originally wanted to cut off her head, but such an attack would definitely be instantly sensed by her and might lead to failure. Thus, to be safe, he first cut off her hands, making it so that she couldn't form hand seals temporarily. Boom! After cutting off her hands, his saber struck like lightning, piercing toward her head. A divine shield appeared before her. The 9 underworld luocha was terrified. The luocha manifestation behind her had vanished, condensing into a fist-sized shield in front of her head. Long Chen's saber quivered and that shield began to crack. Having lost her hands, the 9 underworld luocha could only use her will to control her power. She was unable to concentrate all her energy. Feeling terrified, she cried out, "Hall Master, save me!" Boom! That shield finally broke apart. Long Chen's saber pierced through it and her head. However, when he stabbed her head, he suddenly sensed something wrong. This wasn't the feeling of stabbing flesh. A substitution art? Long Chun was startled. He didn't have time to pull back his saber. So a lightning spear appeared in his left hand, and he stabbed it downward to his left. Boom! As a result, the void collapsed and the 9 underworld luocha's figure reappeared. However, half her body was gone, and she let out a miserable shriek. Having lost the protection of her luocha manifestation, she appeared incredibly weak. Die! Long Chun then swung that puppet that looked identical to the 9 underworld luocha off of his saber and swung his saber at her. Just then, a blood-colored dagger pierced through the air. A chilling killing intent made Long Chen's back feel icy cold. Liao Binsong. When that attack appeared, Liao Binsong's figure instantly appeared in Long Chen's mind. Those experts of the netherworld were unable to stop him from coming to save the 9 underworld luocha. His attack completely sealed any paths of retreat for Long Chen, so Long Chen could only receive it directly. If Long Chun wanted his life, he had to let off the 9 underworld luocha. Long Chen snorted coldly. Ignoring Liao Bekong, he swung his saber at the 9 underworld luocha. That appearance of his was as though even if he died, he would definitely drag her along with him. Seeing this, Liao Binsong was shocked and enraged. He hadn't expected Long Chun to be so crazy as to sacrifice his own life to kill the 9 underworld luocha. It had to be known that the 9 underworld luocha's potential was limitless. Lord Brahma had set his sights on having her as the future Hall Master, so she could not be allowed to die. 9 underworld duplicate. In his panic, Liao Binsong suddenly split his body in two. One continued to attack Long Chun, while the other appeared in front of the 9 underworld Luocha. I knew it. Your true body couldn't possibly come here. You are nothing more than an avatar. Long Chun instantly relaxed when he saw Liao Bensong split his body. This avatar was condensed from faith energy. Although it was stronger than a divine clone, it was a far cry from the true body. Then I won't hold back. All of you can leave your lives behind today. Long Chun raised his head and laughed. Boom! A black lightning sword suddenly appeared in front of Liao Bensong, blocking his dagger. A maiden with black hair covered in lightning manifested. Lei Linger was wearing a black dress, and runes flickered in her black eyes. A wild aura came from her along with a wild destructive power. What? Even as the hall master, Liao Bensong was shocked. Even with all his experience, he was unable to believe that there was someone capable of controlling the power of heavenly tribulation. At the same time, Long Chen's saber slashed down on Liao Bensong's other avatar. This avatar was blown back but still managed to receive Long Chen's attack. However, just as Liao Bensong relaxed, a flame spear pierced through the 9 underworld Luocha's body. Huolinger had also attacked. She then murmured something, and flames enveloped herself and the 9 underworld Luocha. Ah! The 9 underworld Luocha screamed in pain. Huolinger was using the fire of her soul to burn her enemy's soul. As the 9 underworld Luocha's hands were stained with the blood of countless 9-star heirs, Long Chun didn't want to kill her just like that. He wanted to burn her soul for eternity, letting her die only in endless pain. At the same time, he would like to investigate some of the 9 underworld hall's secrets through her soul. Long Chun, you are courting death. Liao Bensong was incensed. He hadn't expected Long Chun to have such terrifying trump cards. His 2 avatars moved, trying to merge back together. But Long Chun didn't give him a chance. He and Lei Linger both blocked one, not letting Liao Bensong get close to the 9 underworld Luocha. Long Chun knew that Liao Bensong was very powerful. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to escape under the attacks of 5 world kings. However, now that his avatar had split in 2, his power was also halved. As long as Long Chun didn't let his avatars recombine, he was unable to threaten Long Chun. Huolinger was chanting the Nirvana scripture. That was something that Long Chun had recently transmitted to her. Long Chun had tried to transmit it to her in the past, but for some reason, she was unable to use the scripture. It was only after he had advanced to the Divine Lord realm that Huolinger managed to control the Nirvana scripture. However, she was only able to use the first 2 volumes. As for the 3rd and 4th volumes, it was unknown if it was because her power wasn't high enough, but she was unable to chant them. Despite that, she was an innate flame spirit. When she chanted the scripture, endless flame energy was summoned. She was a goddess of 10,000 flames at this moment. Ah! As she was roasted by the flames, the 9 underworld Luocha continued to scream. She was bound by flame chains, and it felt like her soul was being torn apart. She couldn't stop screaming. At this moment, Enputa had also summoned his full power. Despite his large body, he was as agile as a monkey. Even while fighting 5 world kings, he was forcing them back repeatedly and moving toward Liao Bensong. Although he didn't like Liao Bensong, he also knew that the 9 underworld Luocha couldn't be allowed to die. He was also doing his best to help save her. On the other battlefield, it was originally Bai Zhantong chasing Jialuo, but now Jialuo was the one trying to rush over here and being blocked by Bai Zhantong. Due to Long Chen's battle with the 9 underworld Luocha, the core of the battlefield had shifted. The Academy's experts had originally been blocking enemies from all sides. But now that the Netherworld's army descended, they no longer needed to. As a result, all the Battle God Palace's experts charged at Jialuo. Jialuo was now being attacked by Zhantong, by Shirshir, by Shaola, by Shaola's mother, and by Shirshir's mother. Bai Zhantong's face was pale. He had already lost his ghost Dao possession, but he still didn't want to retreat. Jialuo was at full power now. The power that he had been conserving was now fully unleashed. It was not inferior to Bai Zhantong in his ghost Dao possession. However, with Bai Shirshir present, Her golden sword repeatedly launched sharp attacks. She became the main force, adding on the cooperation from her family, especially by Xiaola's mother with her 3 flower pupils interfering with Jia Luo's attacks and setting Bai Shirshir up perfectly. Jia Luo almost had his head cut off several times by Bai Shirshir. Surrounded by this family, Jia Luo was unable to fight effectively. He was so furious that he cursed Bai Zhantong for using numbers to bully him. Bai Zhantong also cursed him, calling him trash, demanding why he was so fine with running away the entire time before. Just before, Jia Luo had been repeatedly running from him, making him unable to effectively unleash his power. Now that the tables had turned, it was Jia Luo who was unable to effectively unleash his power. Bai Zhantong was very pleased. Jia Luo, you bastard! You injured my mom! You made my grandpa suffer! I will wring off your head and place it here, so I can feed you crap every single day. Bai Xiaola clenched his teeth and rapidly formed hand seals. Now, his spatial energy was crazily unleashed. He was constantly interfering with Jia Luo's attacks. It was only after Bai Xiaola had met Long Chun and activated the 3 flower pupils, giving him the ability to cultivate on his own, that his mother told him about this matter. She only told Bai Xiaola so that he wouldn't hate his father. It had to be known that Bai Zhantong also felt great pain over it. When Bai Xiaola learned that it was Jia Luo that had caused everything, he wanted to tear Jia Luo apart with his teeth, while the latter was still alive. In this life, it was his first time hating someone like this. Xiaola, focus! Bai Xiaola's mother suddenly cried out. In Bai Xiaola's anger, the tempo of his techniques accelerated to the point that a gap gradually appeared in everyone else's cooperation. Jia Luo shot through an opening resulting from that, receiving Bai Shirshir's attack with his sword and shooting away like a bolt of lightning away from their enclosure. Shit! Bai Zhantong's expression changed. Jia Luo was flying straight at Long Chun, and Puda had finally reached him as well. Long Chun was instantly surrounded by 3 powerful experts. Boss, watch out! Only now did Bai Xiaola realize what kind of calamity he had caused. Long Chun narrowed his eyes. Seeing Jia Luo coming toward him, he snorted. Lord Brahma's disciple? Let's see just how much skill you have. Long Chun had just exchanged blows with Liao Bunsong when he extended his hand and a lightning sphere appeared in it. Furthermore, at this moment, Lei Linger vanished. World Extermination Lightning Radiance. Boom! Long Chun then forced Liao Bunsong back with his saber and smashed this lightning sphere into the latter's body. As a result, Liao Bunsong's avatar crumbled, and a ripple of lightning tore through the void. Lei Linger reappeared with a lightning sword, attacking the other Liao Bunsong. The loss of one of his avatars shocked and enraged Liao Bunsong. Even now, he didn't know what had happened. Only the blink of an eye had passed between Long Chun circulating his thunder force, Lei Linger vanishing, his avatar being killed, and Lei Linger reappearing. In all his years, Liao Bunsong had never seen such a technique. What he didn't know was that Lei Linger was not a house pet but a companion that Long Chun could fully trust. Their minds were connected, and so their cooperation was seamless. With this move, one of Liao Bunsong's avatars was killed. After the World Extermination Lightning Radiance, Lei Linger's aura fell. But she still had 80% of her combat power, and that was enough to fight Liao Bunsong's other avatar. With one opponent killed, Long Chun eyed Jia Luo who was flying over. After taking a deep breath, his saber rumbled. He pointed it at the heavens and slashed it down. Split the heavens one. The saber image fell, but what no one had expected was for it to miss. It actually fell beside Jia Luo, startling people. Die! At this moment, Jia Luo's manifestation rumbled and was sucked inside his silver sword. The sword seemed to come to life, and brilliant swordlight ignited the sky like a blazing star. This move is something I was preparing for, Bai Zhantong. For it to be used on you, you can die in peace. Jia Luo's gaze was cold. He was turning all his anger on Long Chun, so this sword contained all his power. After missing, Long Chun once more raised his saber. Just then, the power of his previous attack was pulled back. When his saber once more pointed toward the heavens, the wind and clouds changed color. Endless power was crazily pulled toward Long Chun. As the power of Long Chen's 108,000 stars poured through 18 acupuncture points, sharp pain came from the acupuncture points. He was layering the power of his first attack on top of his second, as well as absorbing the power of heaven and earth. So, the current power of his saber had reached the limit of his body. If it was before, no matter how Long Chen tried, he would be unable to cause such an effect. That was because the amount of energy that the heavens were willing to give him was too little. However, it was different this time. He had obtained the recognition of the integral heaven starfield and this place, so he was able to absorb far more energy from heaven and earth. The pain in his acupuncture points didn't disturb him though. Long Chen grew even more excited. This meant that as long as his body could endure it, he could still absorb more energy from heaven and earth. Split the heavens too. With a roar, Long Chen unleashed all the power he had stored. The first form and the second form layered on top of each other. This attack contained the will to split the heavens. It caused the world to change color and gods to shake. This saber possessed a supreme divine might. It was like a heavenly saber that would cut through all restrictions within this world. The next moment, a saber and a sword struck each other in a world-shaking collision. Two divine lights clashed, emitting four streaks of light in the form of a giant cross. As the earth was torn apart and the void was pierced, fragments of space-time flew about. Four huge holes then spread around the two of them. The four black holes were like four huge mouths trying to devour the world. The experts in the academy panicked. One of those holes was flying toward the academy. In the end, it only passed by them, but the immense power still pierced the tottering barrier, causing it to collapse. The giant black hole crazily devoured everything, and countless disciples found themselves being sucked over. If they were devoured, they would be crushed by the spatial blades. Bai Shaola and his mother had no time to help Long Chen. They hastily used their spatial arts to drag everyone back. However, the buildings of the academy were pulled and torn by the black hole. The glorious academy was instantly turned to ruins. After that, the black hole slowly vanished as the laws of the world repaired themselves. When the pulling power faded, everything returned to calm. Big brother Long Chen. Huolinger cried out in shock. She was originally controlling the 9 underworld Luocha and had just managed to see some fragmentary images in her soul when Enputa came. Huolinger's body was then pierced by his dagger, and some strange power was injected into her, causing her to lose control of her body. At the next moment, the 9 underworld Luocha fell into Enputa's hands. As for Long Chen, he had just exchanged blows with Jia Luo. His body was covered in frightening cracks as if he would shatter. On the other side, Jia Luo was coughing up blood. Even some of his shattered insides were spat out. Moreover, a crack had appeared on his forehead, and fresh blood poured out of it. It was as if his head was going to explode. Lord Brahma's disciple is only at this level. You can die. Long Chen shot toward Jia Luo once more. Although combining 2 saber attacks had used up almost all his energy, he was still fearless. He knew that Jia Luo was no better off. In a clash of experts, the attacker was the winner. Whoever first retreated had a higher chance of dying. Seeing Long Chen charging over so recklessly, Jia Luo's heart pounded. He could clearly sense that he had the power to kill Long Chen, but a sensation of terror shook him. He was now a bit afraid. Long Chen was like a bottomless well of trump cards. Who knew how many he had? Despite his trump card being clearly stronger, Jia Luo still felt uneasy. Enputa had saved the 9 underworld Luocha. Now, runes flowed out of his hand, and the 9 underworld Luocha vanished. It was unknown where he had sent her. After that, he shouted, "We're just one step away. Dig out the foundation stone and we'll have one." Hearing that, Jia Luo was revitalized. The academy's barrier was gone, and killing people was no longer important. As long as the foundation stone was excavated and the netherworld's chi was injected into it, the 7th branch academy would be gone. Ha ha ha! Leave that to me. Jia Luo laughed and spread his hands. After that, a set of golden scaled armor appeared on his body. Runes flowed on top of it, emitting a terrifying pressure. That pressure caused by Zhantong and the others' expressions to change. The aura of a divine venerate? Ha ha ha. This is the treasure armor my master bestowed on me. With the blessing of the divine venerate, even a peak world king cannot harm me. Just watch as I destroy your academy. Jia Luo laughed, and just like that, he charged toward the academy without the slightest scruple. The 5 world kings of the netherworld were the first to reach him. They all felt like they had lost face by not being able to stop Imputa. Now, their chance to win back some face had come, but before they could even get close to Jia Luo, the divine light from his armor knocked them away with such force that they coughed up blood. At that moment, everyone despaired. This was an unrivaled armor, and no one could even approach him. Was the academy truly going to be destroyed? Just as Jia Luo was laughing and reached the core of the academy, a dagger completely ignored that protective divine light and stabbed through his heart from his back. What? Imputa and Liao Binsong were completely shocked. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. The dagger was pitch black and gave off no aura at all. In fact, it practically couldn't be sensed in the slightest. There wasn't sharp air or anything coming from it, but it had pierced through Jia Luo's golden armor and stabbed him through the heart. The golden armor's light was so powerful that let alone getting through it, even touching it was impossible. Even world kings were sent flying by the pressure that belonged to a divine venerate. However, in front of that black dagger, it was as if the armor had lost all its power. That dagger instantly pierced through it, and its golden light slowly faded. At the same time, Jia Luo's body darkened as if he had been cursed. His life energy rapidly withered, just like when Long Chun was stabbed by the sword tip. At that time, Long Chun had exhausted almost all of the primal chaos space's life energy just to keep himself alive. Now it was Jia Luo's turn. His cultivation base was completely sealed by this power, so he was unable to summon a single trace of energy. Everyone's jaw dropped. They looked at Long Chun, who was standing behind Jia Luo, and appeared completely apathetic. Lord Brahma's disciple is only at this level. Now, do you still doubt my words? Long Chun looked at Jia Luo indifferently as the latter's life energy rapidly dissipated. No one knew how terrifying this dagger was better than Long Chun. He didn't want to experience being stabbed by it a second time. Jia Luo also realized that his intuition back then had not been wrong. When Long Chun charged at him, Long Chun had clearly been exhausted, but Jia Luo was the one to feel like death was approaching. His intuition had told him to immediately flee, but he had actually thought that it was a misperception. Now he realized that it was correct. Don't kill me. Jia Luo was pale and absolutely terrified. At this moment, his life was in Long Chen's hands. Seeing Jia Luo in this predicament, Liao Bunsong roared, Long Chun, release Jia Luo. He is divine venerate Brahma's disciple and a descendant of the Azura race. He has the blood of the Azura race. If you kill him, the divine venerate and the Azura race will descend. All of you will die miserable deaths. Idiot! Imputa's expression suddenly changed. This fellow's head really was filled with crap. He actually threatened Long Chun at such a time. As expected, after Liao Bunsong said this, Long Chun thrust a hand of lightning through Jia Luo's head. The bolt of lightning pierced his head, causing his body to stiffen before slowly limply falling to the ground. The fire of his soul extinguished. With Jia Luo's cultivation base, he should have had a chance to escape with at least his Yuan spirit. But the attack that he had been struck by was no ordinary attack. The dagger had a terrifying power that also sealed the soul within the body so that when the body died, so did the soul. As for Imputa and Liao Binsong, when they saw that his Yuan spirit didn't flee, they thought that he was unwilling to abandon his physical body and simply wanted to first negotiate with Long Chun. They were unaware that it wasn't that he was unwilling but that he was unable to. Jia Luo's corpse fell to the ground. The sound wasn't loud, but on this silent battlefield, it shook people's hearts like thunder. A terrifying genius that had made his name famous countless years ago, a divine venerate's disciple, a figure with countless honors to his name, a terrifying existence countless people looked up to, had died just like this. Lord Brahma? The Azura race? Will all die miserably? Who cares? Dead is dead. From the moment I set foot into the cultivation world, my life was no longer what was important. What matters is that if I am to live, I must live with dignity. If I cannot do that, then I would rather choose to die in a brilliant fire. You might not know this, but I, Long Chun, do not submit to any threats. Since you want my life, you must be prepared to endure my wrath. Long Chun slowly pulled out the dagger and turned toward Enputa and Liao Bensong. Their expressions were twisted with fury. Long Chun. Liao Bensong let out a furious roar, and even his hair stood on end. He was going crazy with rage. Jialuo was Lord Brahma's disciple, so his status was special. For him to die, they had truly provoked a huge calamity. Liao Bensong's power fully erupted. With a single step, he instantly appeared in front of Long Chun. As a result, he had just moved when everyone else, who had long since stored up power, attacked at the same time. Bai Zhantong, Bai Shirshir, the Battle God Palace's experts, as well as the 5 world kings from the Netherworld, all attacked at once. With so many experts striking him at the same time, Liao Bensong didn't even have a chance to do anything before his avatar was directly killed. After killing Liao Bensong, everyone turned to Enputa, only to find that he had long since vanished. No need to search. That crafty fellow merely used that idiot Liao Bensong. Enputa ran after using him to draw attention. Long Chun waved his hand, indicating to them not to search. Jialuo was dead. The 9 underworld Luocha was half dead after being tormented. Liao Bensong's avatar was destroyed, and countless devil experts, deep-sea fiend devils, and devil-eye water lilies had been exterminated. Although Enputa had fled, it was still a victory for Long Chun. Dean, the invasion of the Nether Chi is starting to corrode the foundation stone, reminded Heaven Master Yun Yang nervously. When the barrier was broken, the foundation stone was injured. In its weakest state, it was easy for the Nether Chi to infect it. If the foundation stone was infected with too much of that Nether Chi, it would be destroyed. Before Long Chun could say anything, the World King from the Netherworld said, "Master Long Chun, it is our fault for being trash. We weren't able to help. If the Heavenly King learns of this, He sighed with shame. I beg Master Long Chun to forgive us." He was already waving for his people to return to the Netherworld, gathering their corpses as well for fear of those corpses infecting the immortal spiritual chi here. How can you say that? If it wasn't for you coming, my High Firmament Academy would have taken horrendous losses. You've helped me out immensely. I won't say any courteous words. I will remember this favor. And when we have a chance in the future, let us drink and chat. Long Chun cupped his fists toward him. Those world kings were delighted by his words. They waved goodbye and left the immortal world. After that, the spatial channel quickly closed. Enputa's move this time was truly sinister. This channel could only be repaired from the Netherworld. Fortunately, it was the Heavenly King's people who came, or the 7th Branch Academy would have been destroyed. "Oh, where is Jia Luo's corpse?" Bai Shaola suddenly cried out. Only then did everyone notice that Jia Luo's corpse was gone. "What? You hate him so much that you want to defile even his corpse?" Long Chun laughed, eliciting smiles from the others. Just before Enputa left, he took Jia Luo's corpse. Although Bai Shaola hated Jia Luo, now that the latter was dead, he really wasn't interested in playing with his corpse. First, repair the foundation stone and the transportation formation. We need to beg for aid from the main academy. Fuck, we'll need to continue rebuilding the 7th Branch Academy. Looking at the wreckage around him, Long Chen's heart was dripping blood. Send a message to Zhang Wenlong. This time, I'm going to create the strongest branch academy. Enputa, fuck your mother. Within a palace, Liao Bensong was furiously roaring at Enputa. You rat bastard. You tricked me into charging forward while you hid like a little turtle. I will not let you off this time. Enputa tossed Jia Luo's corpse to the ground. He coldly asked, "When did I make you charge forward?" "Fuck. You refused to admit it. You were the one who clearly said to kill Long Chun at the end," cursed Liao Bensong, practically jumping with fury. "I was saying that killing Long Chun is impossible, so we should run. You didn't let me finish talking before you charged out. Who can you blame for that? Enputa snorted coldly. Liao Binsong almost coughed up blood. Enputa had clearly conned him at the end, costing him his avatars while Enputa escaped safe and sound. It had to be known that his avatars were condensed out of a huge amount of faith energy. They contained all the faith energy concentrated over millions of years from two of his divine statues. In order to increase the power of their avatar, they had each condensed two and sent them to the vile dragon domain. After that, both of his avatars were slain, while Enputa still had his two avatars intact. Thinking carefully, other than some fallen followers, Enputa hadn't suffered any losses this time. As for himself, he hadn't just lost two avatars. The rank 1 heaven fiend, the 9 underworld Luocha, had almost died today. His fury soared just thinking about it. Don't talk about useless things. Jialuo is dead, and there's definitely no way to cover this up. We must inform the divine venerate, said Enputa, looking at Jialuo's corpse gravely. What are you so afraid of? The divine venerate has 3,000 disciples, and Jialuo is just one of them. Moreover, the divine venerate is still in seclusion and is at a critical juncture. We cannot disturb him. We can only temporarily keep this matter to ourselves, said Liao Binsong coldly. All right, I recorded you saying that with a photographic jade. Enputa nodded. Boom! Liao Binsong didn't hold back and unleashed a kick at Enputa. Enputa had once more conned him. If Lord Brahma did ask about this in the future, Enputa would push all the blame onto him. Enputa seemed to have long since expected Liao Binsong's reaction and easily dodged his attack. He coldly said, "You stupid idiot. This seamless plan was ruined because of your foolish interference. You refused to accept responsibility? Fuck your mother. It was clearly your plan that was trash. If you had launched the second attack on the barrier, it definitely would have broken. But you just had to act smart and open a portal to the netherworld. But you ended up drawing the wolves in, resulting in failure," roared Liao Binsong. "You're really stupid. If you wanted to save the 9 underworld Luocha, you had so many methods, but you just had to pick the most foolish one. If you hadn't split your avatars, resulting in your power dropping, we also wouldn't have been defeated. If you had power like me, then with myself, you, and Jialuo joining forces, who could stop us? As long as the foundation stone was exposed and nether chi was injected into it, it would only take a few breaths' time for it to rot. If it weren't for you, the plan wouldn't have failed and Jialuo wouldn't have died. At that time, you even threatened Longchen. Do you know just how stupid you are? I haven't bothered to quibble with you for so many years, not because I'm afraid of you, but because I don't want to waste my time arguing with a pig. Starting today, my Bloodkill Hall has nothing to do with your 9 Underworld Hall. Our cooperation started because of Jialuo, and it ends with Jialuo. Let me tell you just one last thing. Fuck your mother, you stupid pig." Even the calm Enputa grew angrier and angrier as he talked until he directly broke out into curses. Although Enputa knew how to endure, it didn't matter how high his cultivation base was. His endurance still had a limit. He still exploded in the end. "I'll kill you." Liao Binsong roared and divine light ignited around him. As a result, the palace they were in exploded, and huge flames spurted into the clouds. "Idiot, do you think I'm afraid of you? I just can't be bothered with you. You caused Jialuo's death, so just wait to endure the divine venerate's wrath. I'm not playing with you anymore." Enputa then left with Jialuo's corpse. Enputa! Liao Binsong, a grand and mighty world king, actually coughed up blood from anger. Activate the Luocha divine pool. After venting his anger, Liao Binsong gradually calmed down. He shouted into the air as he started to feel a sense of danger. Jialuo had died, while Enputa was a treacherous schemer who would push the blame onto him. If he couldn't kill Longchen, he would be unable to give an explanation to Lord Brahma. At this moment, the 9 underworld Luocha was lying in a blood-colored pool. There were countless ancient statues surrounding the pool, and fresh blood was flowing out of their mouths, slowly dripping into the blood pool. The entire scene was frighteningly dark. My true body is unable to cross heavens, and an avatar's power is limited. I can only place my hopes on you. 9 Underworld Luocha. When you fully merge with the Luocha essence blood, you will be able to summon the full Luocha possession. Imputa, you despicable little person. Just wait. Sooner or later, I will have the 9 Underworld Luocha kill you. Liao Bunsong muttered to himself as he stared at the 9 Underworld Luocha lying in the blood pool. Imputa was within his own divine palace, his expression gloomy. That idiotic donkey. He never accomplishes anything and only ruins my affairs. I really want to kill him. Master, who could make you so angry? Apprentice is very shocked. A figure silently walked out of a shadow in the corner of the room. It was a fair-faced man whose voice was soft and reserved. The curious thing was that his eyes were simply black. They were like a bottomless pool. Just looking at him made people shiver. Even the way he walked was strange. It was like he had no pattern at all. As he walked, his body was changing like a shadow or reflection. Imputa's fury evaporated when he saw this young and soft man. He smiled. The 7th heaven stage? Not bad. You have suppressed your realm very well. Good child, with you present, I feel much more at ease. Master, who are you angry with? Asked that man. Of course it's that giant idiot Liao Bunsong. I almost died of anger because of him. How can that fellow be called an assassin? That's practically an insult to us. Moreover, he ruined everything this time. He's definitely the dumbest person I've encountered in this life. I don't even understand why the Divine Venerate gave him such an important position, said Imputa irritably. Why doesn't Disciple go out to help settle your worries? I will eliminate that Long Chun. No, you still can't be exposed. Your target is the Shadow Sect, not Long Chun. Let the 9 Underworld Luocha deal with Long Chun. That idiot, he'll definitely personally help her recover. He's probably helping her merge with the Luocha blood so that she can summon the full Luocha possession. He will deal with Long Chun and the Academy, but you have a more important mission. Some news has recently leaked about a terrifying figure emerging from the Shadow Sect, and they are viewed very highly by Yi Wuxing. They might be your strongest opponent in the future, said Imputa solemnly. What is their name? Dong Mingyu. It didn't matter what kind of storm came, the sun would always rise the next day. That warm and peaceful light seemed to be the greatest medicine for everyone. Sunlight was called the blessing of the heavens. It was a selfless gift. As long as you wanted it, you could have it. Long Chun lay on a barren hill. Ignoring the dust on the ground, he languidly soaked in the sun. Long Chun, you really are the same as on the Martial Heaven continent. Fortunately, the immortal world is big enough, otherwise, there might not be enough for you to play with. Zhang Wenlong sat down beside Long Chun, sighing emotionally. He felt like the celebration of the 7th Branch Academy's reconstruction had just happened yesterday. So when he saw the wreckage, he almost didn't dare to believe his eyes. Life exists in playing around. If I didn't play around, it would be a waste of life. It's just like your business. Aren't you playing around with making money? But this time, don't worry. I have as much money and treasures as you need. You just need to help me gather everything. Long Chun still had his eyes closed and was enjoying the sun. The crisis at the 7th Branch Academy had been settled. The Devil Sea had calmed, the passage to the Devil World was gone, and the gate to the Undying World was also closed. The heavenly swell domain had returned to its normal appearance. It was now a clear day after the storm. Although rebuilding the 7th Branch Academy would take quite a bit of manpower and materials, Long Chun wasn't lacking money. All right, then let's continue playing around. I really must thank you. Quite a few powers inside the Integral Heaven Starfield have reached out to us to purchase vast quantities of medicinal pills. Furthermore, all that business is counted as mine. My authority is also rising within the Huayun Trading Company. You don't need to worry about the Academy's reconstruction, said Zhang Wenlong. Long Chun nodded. After a moment's thought, he handed Zhang Wenlong all the Wood Foundation Divine Fruit. Zhang Wenlong jumped in shock. These Wood Foundation Divine Fruit went from the 2nd generation all the way to the 9th generation. There was no way to calculate their value. With this, Zhang Wenlong also knew where the problem lay. He was moved. Long Chun had essentially shared a heaven-shaking secret with him by giving him this fruit. Zhang Wenlong put the fruit away and immediately set off. Once he was gone, Long Chun continued to lie on the ground. He grew lazier and lazier as he basked in the sunlight until he actually fell asleep. Suddenly, Long Chun smiled. He didn't open his eyes, but he could smell a nice fragrance. He already knew who had come. It's good for people to soak in some sunlight. Are you afraid of tanning? Long Chun opened one eye and saw Bai Shirshir sitting beside him under a paper parasol. Today's Bai Shirshir was wearing a rare white dress. She looked like a hibiscus just breaking out of the water, holy and sacred. There was a natural beauty within that simplicity. You're already dark enough. Whether or not you tan, it makes no difference. I just don't like the sunlight. Bai Shirshir took out an elegant beast hide pad for herself to sit on. She didn't just lay on the dirty ground like Long Chun. Sunlight is the most selfless thing. She is never stingy with her warmth. However, no matter how bright the sunlight is, it cannot shine on the shadows in the dark. Sometimes we must be the ones to change our angle and allow the sunlight to enter Aya. Long Chun suddenly felt a sharp pain in his waist. Are you cursing me for having a dark inside? Bai Shirshir glared at him. What? Can you be a bit reasonable? I was talking about us. It's not like I directly pointed at you, said Long Chun, irritably aggrieved. Seeing his angry state, Bai Shirshir suddenly chuckled. Her pearly white teeth were revealed, making her appear even more beautiful. Long Chen's heart was moved. Bai Shirshir was already very beautiful. But this laugh made even Long Chen's previous vexation vanish in an instant. Beauty could easily make a person forget all their vexations. Long Chun hastily turned his face away from her. Bai Shirshir couldn't help asking, Did you get a guilty conscience? What guilty conscience? Don't use your beauty to seduce me. Let me tell you, Boss San won't fall for the carrot or stick, but I will fall for this, said Long Chun. Bai Shirshir laughed. He had sounded so righteous until he exposed his true character at the end. Furthermore, he exposed it so frankly. Using beauty to seduce someone? That was far beneath Bai Shirshir. But Long Chun somehow made it sound as if he was praising her beauty. Although Bai Shirshir was naturally beautiful, she didn't particularly care about other people's praise toward her looks. It was only Long Chen's praise that she liked to hear. Do you know? I'm a bit angry, said Bai Shirshir. What are you angry about? Can you have some? Nothing. Long Chun was about to ask if she could have some common sense, as she had been the one to pinch him, so why would she be the angry one? But that seemed to be a bit rude, so he swallowed those words. Of course I'm angry. You're so powerful, but you didn't tell me. When I think about how I want to die from embarrassment. You're a swindler. Bai Shirshir turned red. She thought of how she had held his hand before and said that even when she was stronger than him, she would do her best to listen to him. Just thinking about it vexed and embarrassed her. It was a sickening feeling. Back then, she had just passed through her tribulation and started to merge with the inheritance of the Master of the Golden Sword. Her power had risen to a level she herself had never dared to imagine. Hence, she had thought that in the future, she would far surpass Long Chun. In order to avoid Long Chun feeling bad, she had intentionally said those words. She hadn't expected that in this battle, Long Chun would reveal an even more terrifying combat power. In the end, he even slew Jia Luo, shocking everyone. That? TCH, what is so great about that? I really am not as strong as you. When I killed Jia Luo at the end, it was only because of that divine weapon. If you had that divine weapon, you also could have killed Jia Luo, said Long Chun indifferently. Long Chun, what kind of divine weapon is that? Can you show it to me? Asked Bai Shirshir curiously. Of course, but you cannot touch its edge. Long Chun looked around, and seeing no one else, he carefully took out the dagger. Why is this seemingly ordinary dagger so amazing? Bai Shirshir examined it for a long time without noticing anything extraordinary about it. She then returned it to Long Chun. Long Chun put it away and told her how he had found it, almost dying in the process. Long Chun also didn't know the origin of this dagger, but he knew that it was the most terrifying divine weapon that he had encountered up to now. Jia Luo's armor had a divine venerate's blessing, and an ordinary world king was unable to even approach him in that state. But this dagger had completely ignored that armor. Could be seen just how terrifying it was. Long Chun, what are you thinking of doing next? Asked Bai Shirshir. Once the academy is repaired, I might be leaving the dark light heaven. I need to do something important. An image of a mirror appeared in Long Chen's mind. Long Chun then saw countless spots of light within the mirror, and they had auras just like his. You're going to leave? Bai Shirshir was startled. Long Chun wasn't just planning on leaving the academy but also the entire dark light heaven? Long Chun nodded. This time, although he hadn't killed the 9 underworld Luocha, he had gained a great deal from her. Through the burning soul refinement, Huolinger had obtained this image of a mirror from her memories. That mirror reflected the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The specks of light flashing within it had the auras of 9 star heirs. Based on Long Chen's guess, this mirror was a divine item used for probing where the 9 star heirs were. It was like a pair of eyes overlooking the 9 heavens and 10 lands. It was no wonder that 9 star heirs were discovered so easily. This time, Long Chun had found the position of the mirror and was preparing to destroy it. That way, the 9 star heirs would be able to grow in peace. However, this time it would be very dangerous. The heaven that he was going to was called the Violet Flame Heaven. The Violet Flame Heaven was said to be one of the 3 most intact heavens from that ancient desolate battle. Countless powerful sect inheritances existed, and they were almost all within those 3 heavens. Compared to the Violet Flame Heaven, the Dark Light Heaven was a pile of ruins. Long Chun also noticed another problem. Despite his fame spreading far and wide, up to now he had only found Qin Feng and Qiyu. He still had no information on the others. That meant that the Dragonblood warriors were mostly not within the Dark Light Heaven. If he wanted to gather the Dragonblood Legion again, he had to leave this place. Then we can go together? Probed Bai Shirshir. Long Chen shook his head. If we both go, who will guard the 7th Branch Academy? I am going to leave by myself. You can leave the academy to the main academy, said Bai Shirshir hastily. Shirshir, listen to me. Long Chun suddenly held Bai Shirshir's hands. He solemnly said, Our High Firmament Academy has many aspects that even you don't know about. Before this, the elders carried our burden. Now that we've grown up, we have to learn how to lift that burden. We should take as much responsibility for ourselves as possible. The academy isn't having such an easy time because of it. Once I leave, this place will be entrusted to you. I hope that you can protect everything of mine that is here. Properly cultivate and raise your power so that you can help me in the future. Bai Shirshir's heart warmed with Long Chun holding her hands. But for Long Chun to leave on his own, she was still unwilling. Her eyes reddened. How long will it take? Bai Shirshir bit her cherry lip. Seeing her in this state, Long Chun also felt a current of warmth in his heart. This stubborn girl had managed to make him unwilling to part with her. It won't take long. Have you forgotten? Our High Firmament Academy has branches spread throughout the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Once I go there, I will find the ruins of another branch academy, and then we can be together once more. I believe that at that time you will have fully mastered the inheritance of that senior. I'll rely on you to protect me in the future, said Long Chun with a smile. Only then did Bai Shirshir also smile. She was a bit gratified, and she even felt a bit bad about her sentimentality. There was no choice but to say that when women were drawn into the whirlpool of romance, intelligence went out the window. She believed whatever Long Chun said without overthinking it. Bai Shirshir's smile was like a flower, and Long Chun was struck dumb by it. He couldn't help sighing. Your smile is so beautiful. It would be nice if you could smile more frequently. I will only smile for you, not for others, said Bai Shirshir, still smiling. To have the favor of the High Firmament Academy's #1 beauty is the blessing of several lifetimes. Speaking of which, where did that fellow Su Changchuan go? When Long Chun thought of the Academy's #1 beauty, he also thought of the old #1 handsome man, Su Changchuan. Bai Shirshir shook her head. Ever since the 9 Prefecture Convention, he has vanished. He has never appeared again or sent back any word. Last time, he said that something popped up in his family and he needed to go back. And then there's been nothing. Long Chun found it curious. Although they had started with some disagreement, later they had gotten to know each other better. Long Chun didn't dislike his character. After Long Chun had privately taught him how to pick up girls, they had settled their misunderstandings. So, for him to suddenly vanish was a bit sudden. That fellow comes from an area forbidden to life, which conceals a heaven-shaking secret. They're very mysterious. When he came to the academy and revealed his status, he shook the entire academy. But that overbearing show-off style of his was dislikable, so I found him annoying, said Bai Shirshir. Although Su Chongchuan was very handsome, he had an overbearing pride in his bones. That pride was something that Bai Shirshir also had. Thus, when he said that he wished to pursue Bai Shirshir, he had already missed his chance. Just how prideful was Bai Shirshir? The two of them had instantly ended up at odds, and both their sharp lights opposed each other. It wasn't wooing but fighting, seeing who could subdue the other. It was very childish. Thus, no matter what kind of sincerity Su Chongchuan had taken out, it was considered a provocation in Bai Shirshir's eyes, and she disliked him. There was even one time when she had been so enraged that she almost tried to kill him. If it hadn't been for her mother stopping her, perhaps she really would have killed him. However, ever since Long Chun appeared, Bai Shirshir was influenced quite a bit. This fellow who never acted according to common sense always caught people off guard. Long Chun was truly a mysterious existence that made her curious. She couldn't help wanting to see through him. However, the closer she got to Long Chun, the more she found him mysterious. Sometimes he was warm, sometimes he was domineering. Sometimes he was as crafty as a fox. Sometimes he was as fierce as a tiger. Sometimes he was a wise sage, but sometimes he became an idiot who caused a mess. To sum it up, she was unable to tell just what kind of person he was. But as she stared at him, without being aware of it, she was drawn to him. By the time she sensed the danger, she was unable to extricate herself. Furthermore, the longer she knew him, the more she felt herself maturing as well. She saw problems clearer. Thus, when she compared Long Chun and Su Chongchuan, the latter seemed to be an immature child. It was also due to this that she no longer found Su Chongchuan so detestable. Now that Long Chun mentioned Su Chongchuan, Bai Shirshir also grew curious. Couldn't be that due to his failure. Knowing that he wasn't a match for Long Chun, this fellow dejectedly ran away, right? But she couldn't say such a thing out loud. On the other hand, Long Chun felt that Su Chongchuan's disappearance didn't quite make sense. But as for the exact situation, perhaps only Su Chongchuan himself knew. The area forbidden to life, a region that others couldn't touch. Everything inside was secret. Su Chongchuan himself had never divulged anything about it to others. Thus, he himself was also a mystery. Half a month later, the 7th Branch Academy was rebuilt. All the materials that went into it were top grade. Long Chun had spent a full 10 million Immortal King crystals to create a 7th Branch Academy that was a war fortress. Other than not being able to move, it had almost no weaknesses. An attack like the last one was unable to shake this academy. However, Long Chun also knew that the just defeated Enputa and Liao Binsong wouldn't be returning anytime soon. They knew that Long Chun wouldn't give them that chance. Furthermore, they had taken heavy losses this time. Liao Binsong had lost 2 avatars, which signified that his divine energy was no longer able to descend upon the dark light heaven. During the time that the 7th Branch Academy was being built, Long Chun proposed to Bai Zhantong to directly wipe out the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall. Bai Zhantong instantly agreed. However, when they arrived at the various Bloodkill Halls and 9 Underworld Halls spread throughout the major domains, they found that the people there had long since vanished. Bai Zhantong was so enraged that he directly smashed apart their palaces. Clearly, Enputa and Liao Binsong had also known that the High Firmament Academy would counterattack. In order to conserve their forces, they had their believers hide themselves. Even as their palaces were smashed apart, even as their divine statues were broken, the 9 Underworld Hall and the Bloodkill Hall didn't show themselves. Without those as a foundation, they wouldn't dare to reveal themselves in the near future either. You're going to the Violet Flame Heaven? "Have you thought this through?" asked the sweeping elder. "I suppose I haven't really thought it through. The main thing is that there is nothing to think about." Long Chun shook his head with embarrassment. He had no plan or ideas for the violet flame heaven. He knew nothing about it. Moreover, planning wasn't his style. Planning wasn't as fast as taking action, so he couldn't be bothered. The violet flame heaven has 10,000 races standing tall, and experts are as common as ants. Heavenly geniuses are so numerous that they are like grains of sand in a river. "Going to take a look there is good too." The sweeping elder nodded. "The 7th Branch Academy is already rebuilt, and everything is settled appropriately. I came to ask for some pointers, to see if you have anything I should pay attention to," said Long Chun. As his cultivation base grew, Long Chun found that this elder was growing increasingly unfathomable. The rainbow crane race had long lifespans, but this elder had sent off several generations of them. This was definitely a true living fossil. Listening to this elder definitely wasn't bad. There's nothing in particular. For youngsters to suffer a bit isn't a bad thing. They only learn their lessons that way. If you slam into many nails, either you learn to get out of the way or you grow an iron armor," said the elder with a smile. Long Chun also smiled. "Senior is laughing at me. Does Senior think that I'm so hot-headed and don't learn my lessons?" Long Chun was precisely the kind of person to smash into a wall over and over again without looking back, smashing himself into it until he finally broke through. Sometimes when he was calm, he would also feel himself to be very foolish. But it was truly rare for him to be so cool-headed. If he was always cool-headed, he wouldn't be Long Chun. That is just your character. Can't be called bad, but it also can't be called good. Every person pursues their own things. Since people have different goals, they have different attitudes toward life. Such a thing cannot be judged. The violet flame heaven is a good place. But a good place also has even crueler competition. Things appear in order on the surface, but that peace covers up the wild undercurrents beneath. Within the violet flame heaven are the ruins of the 36th branch, the 47th branch, and others. There are 7 branch ruins in total. As long as our main academy remains, the foundation stones are in a deep slumber and cannot be broken. If you can activate a branch academy, our high firmament academy's power will be able to descend upon the violet flame heaven. However, you have to know that the reason that you could take back the 7th branch academy is because the other side had abandoned the dark light heaven. They have now sealed off the others. It will be very difficult for something like the 7th branch academy's incident to occur again. "Don't get greedy for premature success," said the sweeping elder. Long Chun nodded. Taking back the 7th branch academy had mostly been thanks to luck, while the other aspect was that the other side simply hadn't placed him in their eyes. After all, at that time he had only been in the 4-peak realm. The other thing was that the struggle for the heavenly rainbow flame had drawn the other side's attention, and that was what had given Long Chun his chance. Despite that, it had taken Long Chun a great deal of effort to take back the 7th branch academy. After suffering that loss, the other side definitely wouldn't be so careless again. "Senior, don't worry. This time I will definitely be careful. Do you have any other pointers for this little one?" asked Long Chun. "No." The sweeping elder shook his head. Long Chun bowed to the elder and left. Originally, he was thinking of going to see the rainbow crane race, but thinking of how little Crane was probably still sleeping from using up so much energy to expel the death chi last time, he chose not to disturb her. The sweeping elder hadn't given him much advice. That actually made Long Chun feel even steadier. And back in the 7th branch academy, everything was almost ready. Long Chun searched through all the wealth from the integral heaven starfield. He tossed them into the various treasuries. In the future, the 7th branch academy's disciples could exchange points for those treasures. The main resources were medicinal pills. There was a veritable ocean's worth of medicinal pills. Even if Long Chun shared them with the main academy, they wouldn't be used up without at least a few centuries. So, it could be said that the 7th branch academy's financial power was terrifying. After devouring so many corpses, the primal chaos spaces with foundation divine trees had exploded in growth, reaching a tremendous height. Their enormous life energy was like a sea. Last time, in battle, Long Chen clearly felt just how powerful their life energy was. As long as they were present, Long Chen possessed a kind of undying body. Boom! Suddenly, his body shook intensely, and a wild power exploded within him. It was like hundreds of volcanoes were erupting at the same time within him. Long Chen had just consumed a violet tower pill. Despite being mentally prepared and even summoning the divine ring and battle armor, the immense power was still like wild horses refusing to listen to orders. Those horses were running rampant throughout his body. They seemed to have their own spirits and didn't want to be devoured. They were doing their best to resist. Long Chen tried to control them, but he was unable to force them to that spot right below his dantian. They also seemed to know that they would be devoured if they entered that place, so they resisted with all their power. Boom! Long Chen suppressed the medicinal energy with all his power. Just as he was about to force it to the position of the violet tower star, the medicinal energy exploded, transforming into trillions of droplets that fled to the star diagram in his dantian. This! Long Chen suddenly had a thought. When that medicinal energy scattered, it merged into the 108,000 stars, trying to use them to conceal themselves. Long Chen immediately activated his astral power. After being scattered, the medicinal energy instantly lost the ability to resist. Long Chen was about to send that medicinal energy toward the position of the violet tower star, when the Fengfu star suddenly shook. Without giving Long Chen a chance to react, it was like a black hole cleanly devouring all of the medicinal energy. This path was opened by me? Pay my toll if you want to pass. Long Chen was dumbfounded. The medicinal energy that was supposed to be used to condense the violet tower pill had been entirely consumed by the Fengfu star. Could it be? Just then, something that dumbfounded Long Chen occurred. The Fengfu star had absorbed all the medicinal energy spread throughout the 108,000 stars. It then cracked, and a layer of violet spots appeared on top of the Fengfu star. Following that, it returned to calm. This tribulation pill's vast energy only caused a few spots to appear on the Fengfu star, and that was it. Last time, when Long Chen condensed the Nethergate star, although the energy of the pills was also absorbed by the other 5 stars, such a thing had never occurred. Now, all the energy of the medicinal pill was fully absorbed by the Fengfu star. The other stars didn't even get a trace of it. Moreover, no energy was used on condensing the actual violet tower star. It was still non-existent. Long Chen then swallowed another pill. With his experience from last time, he didn't suppress it. As a result, the 108,000 stars shook, and the medicinal energy was naturally drawn inside them. Just like last time, the Fengfu star was like a whale sucking in water, absorbing all of that energy without giving a drop to the other stars. Another few violet spots appeared on the Fengfu star, and Long Chen devoured close to 100 pills just like that. The Fengfu star was covered in violet spots, but Long Chen wasn't able to sense any change in himself at all. Long Chen sighed dispiritedly. Although he had known that condensing the violet tower star would use quite a few medicinal pills, he hadn't expected 100 of them to be consumed without even causing a ripple. Long Chen clenched his teeth and continued consuming them. 200, 500, 1,000. All the 3,000 violet tower pills that he had were fully consumed. Now, the Fengfu star was covered in dense spots. The star that was originally a white blaze had now become violet. The violet light was beautiful and mesmerizing. Just looking at it drew him into a fantasy land. As it slowly circulated, Long Chen suddenly sensed that violet spots had appeared in his blood as well at some point. Long Chen suddenly unleashed a punch. There was no gust of wind, but the entire room shuddered and countless defensive runes lit up. That was the reaction of the room being under immense pressure. This power, Long Chen's heart shook. The power of his blood qi hadn't changed, but it seemed that a new power had appeared in his body. This power was something that he had never encountered before. He was unable to tell what it was, but it seemed to have great destructive power toward the laws of the world. As for the violet spots in his blood, they seemed to have silently transformed his body, but he wasn't able to control them. The 9-star master managed to beat the ghost sovereign. His cultivation technique is definitely unrivaled. Whatever, all I can do is follow my path. Long Chun clenched his teeth and tried to comfort himself. He knew that the slower the progress, the greater the Violet Tower star must be. But he was truly afraid of the number of medicinal pills that he needed. He was unable to endure the expense. He had only refined 3,000 pills with all his ingredients. He had as many plant ingredients as he wanted, but when it came to the ingredients from demonic beasts and spirit beasts, it was difficult to obtain them in the quantities that he required. Although Zhang Wenlong had told Long Chun that he would help him gather them, according to Zhang Wenlong's estimate, the quantity of the ingredients would not surpass the last time. The Darklight Heaven's few major starfields only had so many resources. Also, the ingredients that Long Chun required were rather rare. Some of them were very difficult to find. In other words, when Zhang Wenlong once more sent Long Chun new ingredients, he would only be able to use them to refine another 3,000 Violet Tower pills. That was far too little compared to the amount that he needed. It wasn't that Zhang Wenlong was ineffective, but that the ingredients could not be produced by the Darklight Heaven. That was why they were so sparse. However, Long Chun wasn't worried. He was about to go to the Violet Flame Heaven. As long as he had money, he definitely wouldn't be lacking resources. After he finished consuming the medicinal pills, he calmed himself, entering an empty mind state. He carefully sensed the violet spots in his body and experienced their changes. He immersed his mind inside one of those spots, magnifying it by 1,000 times. After that, Long Chun was shocked to find that these spots had egg-like entities inside. They seemed like irregular eggs. There was some mysterious energy slumbering inside these eggs. But that energy wasn't something that he could estimate with his soul. It was very mysterious. These slumbering eggs made Long Chun's blood grow more active. As for the true dragon essence blood, it didn't reject them. The two were not just getting along, but the dragon blood was also seemingly very active because of it. The 9-star hegemon body arts power was unimaginable. Long Chun was unable to understand, and so he didn't bother wasting the effort to try. Those violet spots seemed to be transforming his body in some way. Although he was unable to tell how exactly his body was being transformed, he believed that it would only make him stronger. I'll have to quicken the pace. Looking at the empty spot that belonged to the Violet Tower star, as well as the 5 stars that hadn't even reacted at all, he sighed. They were like hungry wolves waiting for their turn. He could see that condensing the Violet Tower star would require satisfying the other 6 stars first. Otherwise, the medicinal energy wouldn't go toward the Violet Tower star. In his battle against the 9 underworld Luocha, although he had suppressed her, he had also seen her terrifying potential. That Luocha manifestation actually possessed countless invisible tentacles that extended into the void. It was simply that the 9 underworld Luocha was unable to activate those tentacles. Although Long Chun didn't know what those tentacles were for, they gave him a threatening feeling. That feeling was still fresh in his mind. Thus, he felt a powerful sense of crisis. Long Chun had the 9-star hegemon body art, but other people also had their terrifying trump cards. Furthermore, the 9 underworld Luocha was backed by the entire 9 underworld hall. Her realm was also higher than his. If she awakened her manifestation first, he would definitely be the one at a disadvantage. That idiot Liao Binsong had actually managed to raise such a frightening existence. So, Long Chun refused to believe that a crafty fox like Enputa wouldn't have any true experts as subordinates. Compared to Liao Binsong, Long Chun was more afraid of that fat fox. Through this battle, Long Chun also understood Enputa and Liao Binsong's true power. The power of an avatar was definitely less than 1/10 of the true body. Fortunately, they were unwilling to pay the huge price to cross heavens personally. Otherwise, even 10,000 lives wouldn't be enough to survive that ordeal. After seeing the difference in power, Long Chun's fighting spirit was provoked. He was still young and had limitless potential. Time was his greatest weapon. Long Chun then left his room and sat through a transportation formation to the Luo family. After that, he gave his 2 uncles 2 heaven-tier heavenly Dao fruits. That way, the Luo family would have 2 heaven-tier immortal kings standing guard, and their foundation would be even more stable. He also left a large number of ordinary heavenly Tao fruit, doing his best to raise the Luo family's disciples. Through this battle, he found that their potential was truly immense. Many of them had activated their violet blood, and that was almost equivalent to dragon blood battle armor. If the Luo family's disciples were raised properly, they would become a very powerful army. At the same time, Long Chun also looked after the academy. The Luo family's medicinal pills were provided by the 7th Branch Academy. As his mother owed the Luo family a great deal, he would carry this burden. Long Chun wasn't hoping for the Luo family's disciples to do anything for him. He was purely thinking about repaying the Luo family. Then he would feel a bit better inside. 3 days later, Long Chun's mind, body, and spirit were in peak condition. Putting on a new set of black robes, with the Minghong saber on his back, he silently left the 7th Branch Academy on his own. Long Chun stealthily left without saying goodbye to anyone. But Bai Shishir, Bai Shaola, Qin Feng, Qi Yu, Su Zixiong, and the others who were close to him knew that he had left. To avoid increasing any sad feelings, Long Chun didn't want them to send him off. In this world, nothing was constant. Every time they parted, it could be forever. No matter how powerful someone was, they were afraid of goodbyes. Having decided on his path, Long Chun could only continue down it. He couldn't retreat. However, when he stealthily slipped away from the academy, he could sense pairs of eyes behind him watching the direction he left from some hidden corners. Anyway, he could be at complete ease when it came to the 7th Branch Academy. Not to mention the protection of the main academy, even Bai Shishir alone was enough to stop their enemies. Back then, she was already able to fight Jia Luo all alone. Furthermore, as time passed and she digested the inheritance of the Master of the Golden Sword, she would continue getting stronger. It had to be known that this was an extraordinarily terrifying figure. Long Chun sat through multiple transportation formations and quickly reached the border of the Empyrean Heaven starfield. After passing through the border, he took out a map and set off in the northwestern direction. After another wild land, he saw another starfield, which was an endless desert. He couldn't see any signs of civilization or any signs of wild beasts here. Long Chun then spent a whole day flying without the scenery changing in the slightest. It was just sand. That feeling of isolation made him think of death. At this moment, Long Chun squatted down and grabbed a fistful of sand. Sensing the endless time energy within, he sighed. The legend has it that this place was once a beautiful world of verdant hills and clear waters. There was abundant spiritual qi, but after a battle it was turned into a land of death. Even after 1 trillion years, it has yet to recover. I wonder what kind of power can cause heaven and earth to wither like this. Even the heavenly Daos are badly damaged. Long Chun knew that this sand was not natural. It was the result of a terrifying being causing such destruction that even the heavenly Daos were affected, turning this place into a land of death. A single person's power had been enough to destroy this starfield. Just what kind of terrifying power did that require? Back on the Martial Heaven continent, Long Chun had encountered those who could control sand. But compared to this expert, there was simply no comparison. The place Long Chun was standing at had some of that ancient aura. But so much time had passed that even using the 9-star Hegemon body art to grasp the scars left and look back didn't show Long Chun anything. He could only give up. Long Chun continued on his way, still not sensing any signs of life. The heavenly Daos were also listless. There was almost no spiritual qi here at all. Using the Lightning Falcon Race's movement art, Long Chun's wings tore through the air. He was like an ancient bird as his speed was pushed to the limit. There were no mountains here, so he could fly without worrying about running into something. If someone was watching from a distance, they would only see a bolt of lightning streaking through the air and an endless dragon of sand flying out of the ground. Long Chun flew for 3 days and nights before reaching the edge of this region. As he entered a new starfield, he finally saw some life forms. However, they were not humans, only some wild beasts. Although there was some slight spiritual qi here, it was very sparse and not suitable for cultivation. Even the beasts couldn't grow particularly big. After passing through another starfield, Occasionally checking his map to make sure that he was going in the right direction, Long Chun continued on. Without this map, going at such a wild speed, he would have long since gotten lost. He flew for a whole month and passed through 7 starfields. 3 areas were filled with death. Some of the starfields had some strange laws that affected a person's mind, and some of them had poison gas leaking. Even immortal kings could die to that poison if they stayed for too long. After all, not everyone had Long Chen's speed. An ordinary immortal king would take a whole month traveling day and night just to cross a single starfield. Furthermore, due to the lack of spiritual qi, some of these starfields couldn't even be crossed using flying boats. The meaning of the boat part meant that there needed to be water to cross, and the water here referred to spiritual qi. A world without spiritual qi could not be crossed by relying only on the flying boat's formations and spirit stones. Thus, not many people possessed the ability to cross these starfields. Other than the Huayun Trading Company and the like who possessed special tools to cross such a world, few others could. But when Long Chun asked about it, he learned that the price was truly terrifying. Thus, the Huayun Trading Company had to store up a certain amount of wares before crossing such an area. Otherwise, all the money would be lost just by crossing. Long Chun was capable and had the guts to cross. He passed through so many starfields all on his own. It was only when he reached the 8th starfield that he finally felt a burst of spiritual qi. However, the density of the spiritual qi here was still a far cry from the Empyrean Heaven starfield. Where there was spiritual qi, there was the human race. Also, there was one good thing about Long Chun coming here. No one recognized him, and he was no longer the center of attention. That actually gave him a very safe feeling. With the human race present in this area, everything was more convenient. He found a prefecture city, and after sitting through a few transportation formations, he arrived at the edge of this starfield in just half a day. After passing through the barrier, he found that there were fewer lands and more islands. However, the human race had some difficulties living here. There were demonic beasts in the depths of the sea that threatened their lives. This shoreside starfield was filled with islands scattered about like stars in the sky. However, many islands were occupied by devil beasts. There were also many resting sea demons. Only a small portion of these islands was occupied by the human race. In order to survive, they had no choice but to fight off sea demons that threatened their shores. The legend was that the shoreside starfield was once half land and half sea. After that battle of the desolate era, the land sank and the terrain changed, resulting in so many islands. The cultivators here usually hunted sea demons and other demonic beasts, selling their corpses for money. Long Chen's goal was the largest island, called the Long Green Island. This island was actually a great deal larger than the Heavenly Swell domain. It was also the island with the strongest defenses here. If I want to go to the Violet Flame Heaven, I have to pay quickly. The ship's going to be here soon. If I miss it this time, I'll have to wait 3 months for the next one. Long Chun quickly rushed out of the transportation formation. He heard people shouting on the other side. Wow! Did I really come at just the right time? Long Chun was delighted. He hadn't expected his luck to be so good. Without waiting at all, he could get onto the ship. When he said that he wanted to get onto the ship, someone immediately came to guide his way. But just guiding his way required a fee of 1 Immortal King crystal. The Immortal King who led Long Chun also explained various things to him and helped him handle some things. It was quite worth it. Long Chun then paid 100 Immortal King crystals as his fee for staying on the ship. Stepping onto the transportation formation, he appeared before a grand and enormous ship. Following that, he also saw a group of fiendish faces. "Little fellow, I see that your clothes aren't bad. I should warn you that you bought a room on the lowest level. That place is packed and chaotic. Also, many people have dirty hands and feet there. I'd advise you to pay a bit more to get a better room," said a mortal tier Immortal King. His cultivation base was only average, but his face was fierce. He stared at Long Chun coldly. Long Chun looked at him. Did they take him to be a novice who hadn't seen the world? "Do you think I can't read? It clearly said that I bought a room on the middle level," said Long Chun lightly. Upon hearing this, that person's expression sank. He coldly said, The middle level's rooms are all taken. Now, people who bought middle-level floors can only go to the low floor, understood? Let's see if you're a smart person. Do you not understand what I'm saying? Long Chen laughed inside. It seemed that this move really was common. The person that had led the way for him for an Immortal King crystal had truly led him here. That person made it seem like the price was very reasonable, and after selling the ticket, he sent Long Chen straight to this robber. He was truly shameless. Long Chen had clearly bought a room on the middle level, but he was now told that he had to go to the low level. To put it frankly, they wanted him to buy a more expensive room. "If I say no?" asked Long Chen lightly. "No? Do you think you have that privilege? If you don't want to get onto the ship, then scram. I've seen many people like you. Don't try to act profound with me," barked that person fearlessly. "Get out of the way. If you have no money, then don't embarrass yourself here." Just then, a line began to form behind Long Chen. A fatty pushed past him, not even lining up and directly walking up. That fatty flashed a golden tablet, and the guards instantly let him through. That fatty looked arrogantly at Long Chen and the others before sneering and walking in. "Do you see? That is true power, the willfulness of the rich. Those who don't have money should accept their fates and behave," sneered that Immortal King. This giant ship was split into 4 levels. The low level, the middle level, the high level, and the top level. The high level cost over 1,000 Immortal King crystals, while the top level cost a full 5,000 Immortal King crystals. When Long Chen bought his ticket, someone had specifically explained just how luxurious the top floor was. There were even beautiful women to accompany people there, the kind that could do anything. There was also a special cultivation room, servants, and other things. It was a display of status and position. Long Chen wasn't lacking money, but he didn't want to be so exaggerated, so he had only bought a ticket for the middle level. The conditions there were average, but at least every person had a room on that level. It was passable. Unfortunately, things never went as he wished. Their cons came one after another like a bottomless hole. "Is this how your soaring dragon company acts?" The one claimed to be on the same level as the Huayun Trading Company. Long Chen frowned. Long Chen had learned that this soaring dragon company was enormous and a competitor of the Huayun Trading Company. However, in many domains, the soaring dragon company simply couldn't compare to the Huayun Trading Company. Despite that, they were still an enormous entity. Furthermore, it was said that their main business was focused within the violet flame heaven, and they had little business in the dark light heaven. The business of ferrying people across heavens was originally a competition between the Soaring Dragon Company and the Huayun Trading Company. However, a few thousand years ago, the Soaring Dragon Company's price per ticket plummeted, while the Huayun Trading Company's price remained the same. As a result, almost all experts who wished to go to the Violet Flame Heaven chose to use the Soaring Dragon Company. Due to this, the Huayun Trading Company backed out from this business. Long Chen was also very curious about this. According to the Huayun Trading Company's rules, they couldn't con others. Their prices were always very fair. However, the Soaring Dragon Company actually used low prices to attract people. They were making a loss from that but gaining fame in this regard. Furthermore, after the Huayun Trading Company retreated from this business, the Soaring Dragon Company didn't increase the price. It was just that their service grew worse and worse. However, compared to a high ticket price, people seemed to be more willing to accept this lackluster service. But Long Chen was a bit irritated as he didn't like being conned. "Little fellow, let me just warn you not to cause trouble for me. Either get on or scram." The Immortal King immediately grew impatient when Long Chen brought up the Huayun Trading Company. His tone became even more threatening. "Big brother, I'm afraid." Just then, Long Chen heard a tender voice behind him quivering slightly. Long Chen then looked back to see a girl hiding behind a man, staring fearfully at those ominous experts in front of the boat. That man hastily comforted his little sister, but he was also very tense. It was just that he acted calm for his sister. Long Chen didn't bother continuing to quibble with these people and he nodded. Seeing him submit, those Immortal Kings all looked at him disdainfully. They directly took Long Chen's silver tablet and replaced it with a bronze one. As a result, Long Chen's middle-level room became the low level, and with the price for a low-level ticket being 60 Immortal King crystals, Long Chen lost out on 40 Immortal King crystals. A flare of anger burst in his heart. He could eat anything with this mouth of his, but he refused to eat a loss. Little brats, just wait. Once we finish crossing, I'll show you who the boss is. Long Chen walked up, and there were 4 paths before him. Clearly, the most broken one was the one for the low level. It was only after setting foot on the ship that he realized it was even bigger than it looked. That was due to the spatial runes inside the ship. At the low level, he felt like he had entered a bee's nest. All kinds of ruckus assaulted his ears. It was one floor, a single flat surface. There were no separate rooms or shelters. Everyone was like refugees sitting on the ground in small groups, chatting. They were discussing whether or not things in the violet flame heaven would be better. They looked forward to excelling once they arrived. All of them were excited, so their voices were rather loud. There were millions of experts chatting on this level. Some were so excited that they were jumping around. Seeing that, Long Chen's anger diminished. It seemed that the atmosphere on the low level wasn't bad. The cultivation bases amongst these people varied. Some were immortal kings, but there were very few of them. The majority were divine lords like Long Chen, with some 4 peak experts among them. Brother, if you don't mind, you can sit here. Seeing how packed this floor was, Long Chen was looking for a place for himself. If he wanted to sit on the ground, he had to at least have the space. At this moment, a warm voice called out to him. Long Chen nodded his thanks to that person. But his gaze ended up falling on a muscular bald man who was occupying a large area all by himself. He then walked toward that bald man. Scram. This is my territory. Anyone who gets close will dash. That immortal king glared at Long Chen darkly like a wild dog protecting its food and baring its teeth. Long Chen immediately slapped him. That bald man didn't even finish talking before he was sent flying and smashed into the wall. The noisy world instantly fell silent. Bang! That bald man smashed into the wall. Although he had a sturdy body, he was like dough smashing into the wall. His body was completely deformed. The bald man then slid down with a creaking sound, and his blood stained the wall. For a moment, everyone was struck dumb. This was a powerful immortal king whose appearance was as ominous as a fiend. No one had dared to provoke him. Thus, when they saw the more refined-looking Long Chen send him flying with a slap, all their jaws dropped. Long Chen had been holding back a belly full of fire. This fellow was the most arrogant one here, occupying an area of several square meters just for himself. If Long Chen didn't put him in his place, he wouldn't be Long Chen. That bald man slid down. Half of his face was swollen like a pig's, while the other half was caved in. The handprint was still clear, looking both bizarre and funny. However, no one laughed. They were all staring in shock from Long Chen to that bald man. They all knew that both of them were very tyrannical existences. That bald man suddenly coughed up blood and slowly stood, flames almost bursting out of his eyes. It was such a frightening sight that the others around him fled. If you want to die, then come. Long Chen didn't even look at him. He took out a blanket and sat lotus-style where the bald man had been sitting. Shocking everyone, that bald man just looked at Long Chen and found a new place for himself. In the end, he didn't dare to attack. He chose a new place, and the people there hastily squeezed to the sides to make room for him. Although his space was now a bit smaller, it was more than enough for him. Clearly, he was afraid of causing trouble for Long Chen. Long Chen had long since seen that this person was a fake. He was nothing more than a spirit-tier immortal king, and a very ordinary one at that. Such a figure could be killed in droves with a single slap from Long Chen. But this fellow wanted to show off here? Long Chen had given him a simple slap just as a warning. If he dared to retaliate, Long Chen wouldn't be so courteous. Entering just behind Long Chen was a brother and sister pair. The little sister was shaking. It seemed that she had never seen such a thing before. If you want to sit, then sit. I don't need this much space for myself. Long Chen smiled slightly at this frightened little girl. Then many thanks. The big brother hesitated but ultimately brought his little sister over to sit beside Long Chun. There were two of them and the surroundings were packed. So it was difficult for them to find a good spot. Since they didn't want to separate and Long Chun had invited them, they directly sat. Seeing that Long Chun was not rejecting people from his space, the others coming in all brazenly walked over to his side, first thanking Long Chun before sitting. This level gradually returned to its noisy state. People once more began to chat, and many people that didn't know each other introduced themselves. All of them were excited. Through listening to their conversations, Long Chun learned that less than half of these people came from this locality. The majority were from other star fields. They had spent their life savings to buy a ticket to the violet flame heaven. Moreover, it wasn't just a ticket but a chance that they dreamed of, a new cultivation world that they had only heard of in legends. The majority of the people here had good talents, but they didn't have much confidence in their eyes. To put it frankly, they were all poor people. Many of them had used up almost their entire family savings to buy the ticket. Some people were carrying the hopes of their entire families. To sum it up, they were full of hope and anticipation for the future. Seeing their excited expressions, Long Chun sighed inside. The stronger the place, the harsher the competition. Although there would be more opportunities, there would also be more cruel pitfalls that devoured people without leaving a trace. Unable to achieve their dreams in the dark light heaven, they thought that they could grasp an opportunity to soar in the violet flame heaven? That wasn't realistic. However, seeing their hopeful expressions toward the future, Long Chun was also affected. Wasn't life simply this way? You could choose to change your life or you could choose to not change it at all. If you lived a calm and peaceful life with no excitement all the way until you were old, what would be the point? Long Chun suddenly smiled as he felt like he had gotten old. Even the viewpoint from which he looked at things was not the same as these people. Big brother, where are you from? Long Chun was surprised that the little sister of the brother-sister pair would take the initiative to speak to him. Little Rue. Her big brother jumped in horror, glaring at her. It was very rude to ask for someone's origins as soon as they met. Many experts would have a bad reaction to this. He hastily said to Long Chun, "Brother, my apologies. This little sister of mine doesn't know manners. Please don't take offense." Long Chun smiled slightly. "It's fine. I heard that the journey is quite long. We can chat to pass the time. I came from a very far-off place. You wouldn't know it even if I told you. I suppose that you too must be from the shoreside starfield." "Oh, big brother. How did you know?" Little Rue stared at Long Chun with her eyes wide open. This little Rue might not look particularly beautiful, but she did have a warm and sweet air to her. She was still innocent and didn't have any scheming inside her at all. Hence, Long Chun couldn't help but have a good feeling toward her. "You guys have the particular aura of the laws of the shoreside starfield. It's very easy to recognize," explained Long Chun. The shoreside starfield's native experts consumed medicinal pills that were mostly refined out of the demonic beasts from the bottom of the sea. As an alchemist, it was very easy for Long Chun to distinguish this. "You're right, we are native to this place. Ah, my apologies, this junior brother is by Fong, and this junior sister is by Rue. May I ask for brother's name?" Only then did Bai Fong notice that he hadn't introduced himself. "I am Long Chun." Long Chun didn't conceal his name. In any case, no one here knew him. "I didn't think that big brother Long Chun was so amazing. Plus, you're very nice and friendly. You look really good when you smile," said Bai Rue, seemingly not afraid of him at all. Long Chun was speechless. It seemed that his random smile, when he was thinking about how old he had gotten, had caused this girl to no longer fear him. As time passed, more and more people came in, so this place became more and more packed. Occasionally, someone from the ship would come in and shout at them. They said that there was still space in the middle level, so if anyone didn't want to stay packed here, they could pay the difference for a better room. When Long Chun saw that the person shouting was the one who had stopped him, his anger once more flared. This bastard, was he intentionally trying to anger him? After a few hours, the ship began to quiver slightly, and a cheer rang out. "We're setting off." The giant ship slowly began to move, braving the winds and waves, pushing forward with ever-increasing speed. The land quickly vanished from Long Chen's vision. A slight smile appeared on his lips. Violet flame heaven, Boss Long San is coming. Are you prepared? Standing on the deck, Long Chen felt the sea breeze blow, and his clothes flapped loudly. The giant ship was moving rapidly, but on this endless sea, he was unable to sense its speed. Long Chen looked at the distant morning sun. Ever since coming to the immortal world, it was his first time feeling the sea breeze. Although the heavenly swell domain had a sea as well, it was the Devil Sea, a sea of death. So the water was flat. On the other hand, this place was a true sea, filled with life. Flowing across the vast sea, Long Chen felt himself to be so small. This wasn't in terms of power but mind. It was a strange feeling. Looking at this endless sea, others might feel fear, but he very much enjoyed it. Only by feeling just how small he was did he feel like an ordinary commoner. Sometimes living like a regular, ordinary person was real life. Sometimes Long Chen thought about whether he could live a normal, tranquil life. He would rather not have his current cultivation base and simply accompany his lovers through a peaceful life. Regretfully, he wasn't the sea but a raging river. He could not stop. Perhaps that only proved that he wasn't strong enough. Big brother Long Chen. Suddenly, a sweet voice drew him out of his stupor. Bai Rui had come. This was already their third day on the ship, and everyone was familiar with each other now. She kept calling him Big Brother Long Chen the entire time, just like her own big brother. Seeing this brother and sister come over, Long Chen smiled. Little Rui, be careful. This is the lower level and there's no formation to protect you. You might get chills from the wind. There were all sorts of formations on this giant ship. It was unknown if it was intentional or what, but on the low level the sea breeze was extremely chilly. Even ordinary cultivators would be chilled. Considering Bai Rui's weak constitution, she was unable to endure even a single day. Hee, I'm not afraid. With Big Brother Long Chen's medicinal pill, I'm no longer afraid of the cold, declared Bai Rui with a giggle. On that day, seeing her suffer, Long Chen had given her a medicinal pill that gave her a natural resistance to the cold. Now, after seeing that Long Chen was just standing on the deck, she came over with Bai Fong. Long Chen felt great sympathy for these two. According to Bai Fong, they were once a noble family, but their enemies had massacred them, and their family was destroyed. Of over 3,000 people, only the two of them had managed to escape. Seeing the mournful gaze in their eyes, Long Chen didn't doubt their words. While fleeing, they hadn't even had time to gather up any of their family's treasures. The two of them had sold off everything they had on them in order to pay for 2 tickets for the ship. Now, they didn't even have a single Immortal King crystal. Moreover, the two of them didn't have much experience out in the world. If it hadn't been for Long Chen stopping them, they might have casually said their origins in front of everyone. To others, the violet flame heaven was a place for them to chase their dreams. But to the two of them, it was somewhere they were fleeing to in order to escape their enemies. After learning about their dismal state, Long Chen grew more amiable toward them, delighting the two of them. Long Chen was someone who didn't even fear an immortal king, so he was definitely a peak expert. To be able to make friends with such an expert was an unimaginable fortune for them in their current state. Just as they were talking, Long Chen suddenly frowned and looked up. He saw someone staring at them from the middle level, either intentionally or unintentionally. That person pretended that his gaze was simply roving around, and he turned his head in the other direction. "What is it, Big Brother Long Chen?" asked Bai Rui, seeing Long Chen's somewhat odd expression. "It's nothing, let's go back. This place is cold." Long Chen shook his head and brought the two of them back to their little space. Although the interior was also cold, it was at least a bit better than the outside. At this time, the blaze of everyone's excitement had almost been blown out by these cold winds. Many people were shivering already. This wind was odd and was able to chill them down to their bones. It was like they were in the depths of the sea. Most terrifying of all, this cold breeze seemed to also be able to blow away their yuan spirits. Some of the 4 peak disciples felt that in particular. Furthermore, the most infuriating thing was that the people on the middle level were all having a pleasant time, without the slightest breeze. Now, the people on the lower level even suspected that the Soaring Dragon Company had done this on purpose. However, they were already on their ship, so they could only listen to the Soaring Dragon Company. They didn't dare to say anything or unleash their wrath. They could only endure. Long Chun returned to his space and found that there were a few foreign faces now. They were all immortal kings. Bai Fong also took note of them. Long Chun clearly felt Bai Fong tense up, but he was worried about affecting his little sister, so he acted like he hadn't seen anything. Everyone, this place is the low level, and our Soaring Dragon Company has no duty to activate the formation for you. However, considering your weak constitutions, we are going to give you some special care. The company has decided to activate the formation for you. Suddenly, a group of experts in lavish clothes walked in, with their leader speaking. Long Chun eyed that person and sneered. It was the same fellow who had conned Long Chun out of his middle-level ticket. He was back. However, Long Chun didn't immediately do anything. He wanted to see just how shady the Soaring Dragon Company was. Cheers rang out in the cabin when they heard that the formation would be activated. However, that man sneered, "But don't get happy too early. Activating the formation requires a huge number of Immortal King crystals. Those Immortal King crystals should be paid by you, but my Soaring Dragon Company pities you, so we have decided to help you pay the majority. All of you need to only pay a single Immortal King crystal each." A hissing sound rang out. It seemed that they wanted more money. However, those on the low level were all essentially broke. Every Immortal King crystal was incomparably precious to them. As for Bai Fong and Bai Rui, their pockets were empty. They were unable to take out an Immortal King crystal. For the others, every single Immortal King crystal was being saved for emergencies. What if when they arrived at the Violet Flame Heaven, they didn't even have a single bit of money? Then they would become beggars. Don't blame me for not warning you. Right now, we are still on the outer edge. Once we enter the deep sea region, especially when crossing the Fiend Devil Sea, the feeling of cold will be 100 times stronger. Let alone some 4-peak rookies, even Immortal Kings will freeze. Don't worry, you won't freeze to death. But your realm might fall and your foundation could be harmed. Hee, but if you want to risk your life to save money, that's up to you. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Hearing that it would be 100 times worse later, everyone was scared. In the end, they could only accept this and take out Immortal King crystals. Long Chin sneered inside. There were millions of experts here. The Soaring Dragon Company was truly a group of scammers. What kind of broken formation required millions of Immortal King crystals? It wasn't just Long Chun who understood this. However, there was nothing they could do. The price of one Immortal King crystal was at least somewhat bearable for them. Long Chun paid for Bai Fong and Bai Rui. He had Bai Fong hand them over because he was afraid that he would kill that irritating Immortal King if they were face to face. It still wasn't the time for him to repay his debt. As expected, money could make even ghosts work. When the formation was activated, the cold breeze instantly vanished. Everything warmed up and everyone was excited. They now felt very comfortable. "Brother Long, I have something to discuss with you." Bai Fong suddenly began talking spiritually with Long Chun. "Speak," said Long Chun. "I have a priceless treasure in my hands, but others might have set their sights on it. I beg you to protect our lives." "I am willing to give this treasure to you," said Bai Fong. "Are they after that treasure?" asked Long Chun. "Yes, this treasure has caused the deaths of everyone in my family. Now it's just the two of us left. I didn't expect them to refuse to let us off even now," said Bai Fong hatefully. Ever since those people had set their sights on Bai Fong and Bai Rui, Long Chun already felt that things were not so simple. After all, the two of them were lacking experience. Although they had changed their appearance, their technique wasn't very good. Long Chun could easily see through it, but he simply acted like he couldn't. "I don't mind if I die, but I am worried that my sister won't be able to survive on her own. She is terrified of the world and probably wouldn't survive much longer like this. Brother Long, I beg you to help us." Bai Long looked at Long Chun pleadingly. Currently, Bai Rui was sleeping on her big brother's lap. She was blithely unaware that a crisis had already befallen them. I can. As long as you don't leave my side, I can guarantee your safety. Long Chen nodded. Many thanks, Brother Long. I will immediately dash. As for the treasure, it's all right. I'm not greedy for your treasures. I'm only helping you because I think that you are kind. In my opinion, a kind heart should be treated warmly. Long Chen waved his hand. The two of them didn't have any scheming in their hearts at all. Otherwise, they wouldn't be viewed as fat sheep by others. As for whatever their so-called priceless treasure was, Long Chen wasn't interested. Just looking at their cultivation bases, he could tell that their background wasn't powerful. He was only helping them out of sympathy. This promise from Long Chen instantly made Bai Feng's eyes redden. Ever since they were forced to flee for their lives, Long Chen was the only good person they had encountered. Originally, the two of them had some money on them, but due to not knowing the pitfalls of the world, they ended up suffering some losses. All their money was conned away. If they hadn't bought the tickets for the ship in advance, they might not even have this final hope left. Without any experience and with bad luck plaguing them, they only encountered bad people. Bai Feng even felt like sometimes there was no more hope for them. Long Chen's existence was like a final straw of hope. Bai Feng could see that Long Chen was powerful. Originally, he was hoping to obtain Long Chen's support after arriving at the Violet Flame Heaven. After all, the two of them had no idea where to go in the Violet Flame Heaven. Unexpectedly, even on the ship, they were targeted. Feeling afraid, he begged for aid from Long Chen, and Long Chen readily agreed without wanting any reward. That made Bai Feng feel the sunlight within his world of darkness. The ship pressed onward. Wild winds and storms would sometimes buffet it. The other times, there would be a bright and glaring sun. Even this giant ship appeared minuscule on this endless sea. Furthermore, Long Chen sensed some strange laws affecting the space around. It was very difficult to fly here. There were invisible, chaotic spatial currents. One mistake and you might be blown to who knew where. Even if you possessed a powerful physical body that didn't fear the current, in that chaotic flow, it wouldn't be long before you were so lost that you would never be able to find your way out. As the ship moved, Long Chen felt like it was passing through the starry sky. There were endless stars above, while at the bottom there seemed to be another starry sky. That feeling was truly mysterious. Long Chen thought of the clumps of nebulas that the heavenly rainbow fairy had shown him. Those were the 9 heavens. There seemed to be a black area between the heavens, separating them. Long Chen then looked at the originally blue seawater. It was starting to turn black. This was further proof that the heavenly rainbow fairy had shown him the true world. Long Chen often went to the deck and just stared out into space. Bai Feng and Bai Rui were very obedient, never separating from him. As for those immortal kings that had suddenly appeared, they seemed to be getting a bit impatient. Hey brat, this is your middle-level tablet. Go to your room. The conman that had scammed Long Chen appeared, tossing a silver tablet to Long Chen. Bai Feng tensed up. Bai Rui didn't know what was going on, but she didn't want to part with Long Chen as she would feel afraid. No matter how inexperienced she was, she still managed to notice those immortal kings eyeing them. Long Chen didn't catch the tablet. So, the tablet that countless people in the low level dreamed of obtaining clattered to the ground. What do you think you're doing? That man's expression darkened. I'm doing whatever you're doing, said Long Chen indifferently. It seemed that the ones to set their sights on Bai Feng were the Soaring Dragon Company. This practically toppled Long Chen's understanding of businessmen. Are you looking to die? Killing intent appeared in that man's eyes. It seemed that he had also been holding back a long time and couldn't endure any longer. That's precisely what I was going to say to you. Long Chen smiled. Just then, over 10 experts surrounded Long Chen. Several of them had been brought by this man, while the others had been eyeing Bai Feng and Bai Rui this entire time. They were all immortal kings. Seeing this, Bai Rui cried out in horror and hid behind Bai Feng. Bai Feng also jumped in fear. So many immortal kings were making their move all at once. He was worried that Long Chen wouldn't be able to stop them. He wanted to help, but there was nothing he could do against so many immortal kings. He was nothing more than an ordinary mid-stage divine lord, not a match for these people. His head turned empty. "If you want to die, I'll kill you right now," said that man. Long Chun didn't immediately reply. He only turned to Bai Rue, who was pale with fright. "You're tired. Sleep for a bit." Bai Rue's head suddenly buzzed. Just like that, she collapsed on Bai Feng's back, sleeping. Only then did Long Chin turn back. His smile vanished, replaced with an icy expression. "What did you say just now?" "I said, if you want to die, I'll kill you," shouted that man. Boom! He had just finished speaking when Long Chen's leg kicked out like lightning, striking him right in the chest. That man was sent flying like a cannonball, smashing into the wall. The immense power caused the ship to shake. No one knew whether it was a coincidence or not, but the place he smashed into was the same spot that the bald man had been slapped into at the start of the journey. However, this kick was even more vicious. The wall was several feet thick and made of the best steel. Because of it, the bald man had only left some bloodstains as he slid down, and the wall had been undamaged. But this time a hole was smashed into that thick wall. That man coughed up 3 mouthfuls of blood. Even some of his insides were spat out. His head tilted as he collapsed on the ground just like that. It was unknown if he was dead or alive. "Die!" The other immortal kings were enraged. They hadn't expected Long Chun to dare to attack first. They pounced on him. After that, a cold light flashed and over 10 heads flew into the air at once.